Chapter 830. Finally, it was done. Chu Kuangren looked at the 10,000-word scroll in his hand and thought to himself, Elder Rian sure knows how to write. After he finished reading the proclamation in his hand, auspicious clouds suddenly surged in the sky, followed by all sorts of beautiful transformations. Dragons and phoenixes, cheilans treading the sea, golden lotuses sprouting from the ground, all sorts of transformations dazzled everyone. With the heavenly Tao as witness, the firmament empire is formed. The voice of the heavenly Tao appeared. Everyone was dumbfounded. The heavenly Tao had spoken. One had to know that even when the blood tribe had attacked and the heavenly Tao had been smashed into smithereens, it hadn't said a single word. Now, the heavenly Tao had spoken up for the establishment of the firmament empire. What did that mean? The establishment of the firmament empire meant a lot to the heavenly Tao. So you can speak now. Why didn't you say anything when I was killing you back then? Chu Kuangren muttered to himself. No one else heard what he said. However, the heavenly Tao seemed to have sensed it. The heavenly Tao energy within Chu Kuangren's body suddenly trembled as if it was dissatisfied. Of course, the others did not know about Chu Kuangren's interaction with the heavenly Tao. They were still shocked by the heavenly Tao's voice. The firmament empire is formed. Chu Kuangren shall be the first king, the firmament ruler. How dare you call the king by his name? Oh, I'll be more careful next time, Chu Kuangren chuckled. Suddenly, his eyes flickered. He could feel an incredibly powerful aura approaching from outside the morning heavens formation. This aura contains the power of the blood source. Is it the blood tribe? Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed coldly as he transmitted a message to Elder Rian. Elder Rian, I'll leave the aftermath to you. With that, his figure disappeared from the Sky Tower platform. The Dharma Daoist master and the others seemed to have sensed something too as they looked towards the sky. Follow him. All right. These blood breeds are really like ghosts that won't go away. Firmament star, outside the morning heavens. The blood tribe's strongest cultivators, the blood god and Zi Wuheng, arrived together. They were already close to the 17th fortress. The blood god's eyes flashed coldly. Let's start with the people here. As he raised his hand, boundless blood origin force gushed out, enveloping half of the starry sky. Empyrean Ghost Blade, Yan Honghua, and the others rushed out of Fortress 17. They couldn't help but be aghast at the sight of the massive amount of blood source power. Not even 10 blood kings could produce such a blood origin power. How could there be such a strong warrior hiding in the blood origin star? Not good, the fortress's great array formation can't withstand this attack. Boom, boom, under the influence of the blood origin force, the fortress's grand array shook violently. Rather, it was merely the oppressive might. If this attack were to land, not to mention the grand spell formation of the fortress, the entire fortress would be destroyed. Blood star falls. A cold shout resounded throughout the universe. The blood origin power around the blood god gathered abruptly and transformed into a huge blood-colored star that blasted toward the 17th fortress. The terrifying power caused the void to collapse. The entire fortress was enveloped in that boundless bloody light. It's over, Empyrean Ghost Blade and the others couldn't help feeling despair. Countless cultivators lost all thoughts of escaping. In the face of such terrifying power, there was no way out. Next to the blood god, Zi Wuheng was speechless. So this is the power of a top great Tao Lord. It's really extraordinary. Compared to me, it's several levels stronger. His eyes revealed a hint of passion. He would have such power sooner or later. He was an immortal seed. His growth potential was much stronger than the blood gods. If even the blood god could reach such a level, there was no reason why he, an immortal seed, couldn't do the same. I'm afraid the cultivators in this fortress are going to be wiped out. Zi Wuheng shook his head without a trace of pity in his eyes. For him, this kind of thing was already a common occurrence. In the universe, the casualties of some powerful civilizations in a war were often measured in billions or even hundreds of billions. What was a mere fortress to them? just as the 17th fortress was about to be destroyed. A dazzling golden sword light that stretched for billions of miles suddenly rumbled and smashed into the blood-colored star with unparalleled power. The collision caused by the two enormous forces set off a terrifying cosmic gale, causing the surrounding planets to tremble. Fortress 17 was also shaking violently, but compared to being destroyed, this outcome was already many times better. Empyrean Ghost Blade and the others looked towards the source of the sword light. They saw a handsome man in a luxurious white robe, a jade crown on his head, and a white jade longsword hanging from his waist. Every move he made was like an immortal king descending from the heavens. It's the king. Isn't today the coronation ceremony? The king must have sensed that we're in danger. Chu Kuangren's arrival calmed everyone down. However, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerable still had a serious look in his eyes. This power is much stronger than the Blood King. Can the king handle it? He definitely can. Yan Honghua said with a determined look. To her, the king was invincible. In space. The blood god's eyes narrowed. Oh, I can't believe someone in Firmament Star can block my attack. This fluctuation is an immortal technique. He was a little excited. An immortal technique. It was something that only the immortal technique civilization had. If he could master it, it would be a great help to his cultivation. Then, he looked at Chu Kuangren with a strange look in his eyes. You must be Chu Kuangren. I can sense the fluctuation of the heavenly Tao within your body. It seems that you've mastered the heavenly Tao and are the Firmament Star's master. Zi Wuheng was a little shocked. He did not know that Chu Kuangren had mastered the heavenly Tao. The immortal seed and the heavenly Tao's enhancement. Did this guy not use his full strength when he fought me? He felt like he was being looked down upon. Deep down, he was even more furious. However, Chu Kuangren did not care about his emotions. He looked at the blood god with a strange look in his eyes. The blood god could sense the heavenly Tao within his body. Naturally, Chu Kuangren could as well. He had a vague guess. Shall AI analyze him? Yes, then, information about the blood god appeared in his mind. It also confirmed Chu Kuangren's guess. So it's the blood god, the powerful cultivator who devoured the heavenly Tao of the blood source planet. Is he a peak great Tao lord? This is a little tricky. Chu Kuangren's eyes were serious. He could handle ordinary great Tao lords, and even defeat them would not be a problem. However, the blood god was a peak great Tao lord. Not to mention that he had devoured the heavenly Tao. Looks like today's going to be a tough battle. Not far away, the Dharma Daoist master, Flowing Water Path master, and the others had also arrived. When they saw the serious expression on Chu Kuangren's face, their hearts sank. It was the first time they had seen such an expression on their king's face. It was obvious how powerful the blood god before them was. The Firmament Empire had just been established today. If they were to face such a powerful enemy in the next moment, it would not bode well for the Firmament Star's future development. Most of the Firmament Star's cultivators are here, right? Let me deal with them all in one go, the blood god said proudly. Chapter 831. Today, I will deal with you all together. Shueshen said proudly. He had this confidence. He was a peak-level Great Tao Lord. As long as the Heaven Tao Lord didn't appear, he could do whatever he wanted in the Purple Gold Galaxy. Although the cultivation level of this group of people in front of him was decent, in his opinion, only Chu Kuangren was worthy of his attention. As for the others, he could deal with a group of minor Tao Lords in a matter of minutes. Beside him, Zi Wuheng sneered as he looked at Chu Kuangren. You may be an immortal seed, but it's a shame that you don't have a powerful civilization to back you up. Today, you will die without a doubt. With the development of a powerful civilization, it's only a matter of time before Firmament Star surpasses Purple Star. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Unfortunately, you won't have the chance. You'll die today, and Firmament Star will become a colony, a slave for generations to come. Today is the day when my firmament empire has just been established. No one is allowed to stop my empire's hegemony. Your hegemony is just empty talk. Xueshen sneered coldly as he took a step forward. An extremely powerful blood origin power burst forth from his body. The power of a peak great Tao Lord erupted. That attack just now was only 30% of my strength. If I go all out, you won't even be able to block a single attack. What hegemony are you talking about? Blood God tyrannical descent. The blood god let out a furious roar and activated his own profound mysteries. The tyrannical blood origin energy swept out, and a terrifying pressure enveloped everyone present. Even the Tao Lord couldn't help but tremble. What terrifying power! Is this the combat power of a peak great Tao Master? Damn it, I can't block it at all. The Tao Master of 10,000 Laws, the Tao Master of Luo River, and the others felt their hearts palpitating. In front of them, a huge blood-colored Dharma form that was formed from the combination of a massive amount of blood origin power and Tao patterns appeared. The Dharma idol's every move contained the power to shake the stars. Blood God tyrannical descent? In my firmament star's territory, even the gods can only bow their heads. When Chu Kuangren lifted his hand, the time-space mirror appeared. The 9 circles opened and spiraled. An unprecedented power of time and space suddenly exploded. Countless mystical spacetime Tao patterns densely covered the void and covered a radius of 10,000 miles. At this moment, the light of the stars dimmed. The space that was enveloped by the power of space and time seemed to have been stripped out of this universe, and time stopped. Xueshen and Ziwuhan were also enveloped by this spacetime power. Their eyes widened as they stared at the time-space mirror in Chu Kuangren's hand. Their eyes were filled with indescribable fear. What kind of spacetime power was this? What was with this ridiculously powerful spacetime power? Xueshen felt as if their Tao, profoundness, Emperor Qi, etc. had suddenly stopped circulating, leaving behind only a sliver of their consciousness. They wanted to control their bodies, but they were unable to do so. The spacetime energy that surged from all directions was like countless invisible chains that bound them tightly, making them unable to move. Not far away, Chu Kuangren stood in the air. With the time-space mirror in his hand, he became the king of this world. Taking a step forward, space seemed to lose all meaning before him. In just a flash, he had arrived before Xueshen and Ziwuhan. Die! An indifferent voice echoed in their ears. Then, they saw a brilliant sword light. The sword light streaked across their necks. There were no wounds on their necks, and no blood spurted out. The next moment, the time-space domain disappeared. Xueshen and Ziwuhan regained their mobility. The first thing they did was to retreat and cover their necks with their hands. They even wanted to take out some healing treasures. However, before they could do anything, a sword mark appeared on their necks, and a large amount of blood splattered out. This is impossible. This is impossible, disbelief was written all over their faces. The next moment, millions of sword chi erupted, shredding their bodies and souls into pieces. Xueshen, a peak Daoist master, had fallen. Ziwuhan, an immortal seed, had fallen. Not far away, the Dharma Daoist master, the Flowing Water Road sect master, and the others were dumbfounded. They could not recover from their shock at the sight. What happened to a tough battle? Killed in one move. What's going on? Phew, Chu Kuangren let out a long sigh. He then kept the time-space mirror back into his body. He felt a headache coming on. That move seemed simple, as he had instantly killed Xueshen and Ziwuhan, but it had consumed a large amount of his Emperor Qi mind power. My king, what's going on? The Dharma Daoist master walked up to Chu Kuangren with a puzzled look on his face. I just used some tricks. There's no need to make a fuss. Chu Kuangren said calmly. The Daoists could not help but look at each other. Make a fuss? Oh my god. You just killed a peak Daoist master and an immortal seed, and you're telling us not to make a fuss? Is this the power of a king? Everyone could not help but admire him. At that moment, a ray of light gathered in the void. A golden ball of light formed at the spot where the blood god died, and waves of heavenly Tao fluctuations emanated from it. The origin of heavenly Tao. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. He stepped forward and grabbed that ball of light, and the firmament star's heavenly Tao energy within his body instantly sent waves of excitement. Looks like I'll have to feed the heavenly Tao again. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. He kept that ball of origin of heavenly Tao into his body. Then, he took Zi Wuhan's yin and yang ring. Let's go back. After dealing with the blood god threat, everyone returned to Firmament Star. The Firmament Star cultivators did not know what had just happened in the outer realm. They were still immersed in the joy of establishing their nation. Black Heaven City. The former Black Heaven sect had now been rebuilt into a majestic imperial palace. In the imperial palace's first palace, towering Heaven Palace, Chu Kuangren sat with his legs crossed. In front of him was a little golden man that no one could see. That little golden man was the Firmament Star's heavenly Tao incarnation. At that moment, he was holding a ball of origin of heavenly Tao and gnawing on it. That was the blood origin planet's heavenly Tao that the blood god had devoured. Compared to the ball of origin of heavenly Tao that Chu Kuangren had obtained on the shell planet, it was many times stronger. The little golden man had been gnawing on it for several hours, and it was still not done. Chu Kuangren reached out his hand and patted the little golden man's head as if he was petting a cat. He had a joyful expression on his face. Good boy, eat slowly. Don't choke on it. Don't worry, no one's going to fight you for it. The little golden man ignored him and only increased his speed of gnawing. To think that a mighty heavenly Tao like him was being petted like a cat? F***ck. Was there any justice in this world? Chu Kuangren looked at the little golden man that was wolfing down its food. He could clearly feel that it was growing stronger. At the same time, the heavenly Tao energy within his body was also expanding and becoming stronger. As the heavenly Tao grew stronger, the future development of Firmament Star would also become smoother. At the very least, it would be easier for cultivators to cultivate. He could pee the heavenly Tao and become stronger at the same time, killing two birds with one stone. Chu Kuangren's expression became even more joyful. Since I'm in such a good mood, let's do a lucky draw. Chu Kuangren opened the fantasy roulette. At the same time, he glanced at the little golden man. Like everyone else, the little golden man did not notice the existence of the fantasy roulette at all. Congratulations, host, for drawing the legendary Heavenly Tao Master's puppet. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. The Heavenly Tao Master's puppet. A battle puppet with combat strength comparable to the Heavenly Tao Masters? Chapter 832. The Heavenly Tao Master's battle puppet? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up and he immediately retrieved the battle puppet. It was a greenish-black, wooden puppet. It was a very plain wooden puppet without a nose or face. However, the moment the wooden puppet appeared, the little golden man beside Chu Kuangren seemed to be startled. He jumped up and looked at the wooden puppet in front of him warily. The Heavenly Tao Master. As the name suggested, he was a cultivator who was on par with the Heavenly Tao. When a cultivator reached this level, his fate would no longer be under the control of the Heavenly Tao no matter which planet he went to. Chu Kuangren could not help but let out a soft gasp when he saw the Heavenly Tao little golden man's reaction. He carefully observed the wooden puppet in front of him. The little golden man seemed to have noticed something too. He went forward and poked the wooden puppet. Seeing that it did not respond, he ignored it and continued to chew on the origin of Heavenly Tao of the blood source star. Chu Kuangren subconsciously reached out and touched the wooden puppet's head. A wisp of mind power had already flowed out and landed on the wooden puppet. Instantly, countless mysterious Daoist patterns flowed on the wooden puppet. Then, it transformed into Chu Kuangren's appearance. The little golden man was watching from the side. He seemed to be so shocked by the scene that he even forgot to chew on the origin of Heavenly Tao. Chu Kuangren's emperor's thought was attached to the wooden puppet. At this moment, he was the wooden puppet, and the two of them were one. He could clearly feel a surge of unparalleled power continuously gushing out from his chest and filling his limbs and bones. What a powerful force! Is this the strength of a heavenly Tao master? Chu Kuangren could not help but be amazed. He had a feeling that if he were to face the blood god again, he would not need to use the time mirror. He would be able to kill him in 2 or 3 strikes. After familiarizing himself with this power, Chu Kuangren's emperor's thought returned to his body, and the heavenly Tao master battle puppet turned back into a wooden puppet. With this heavenly Tao master battle puppet, the firmament empire will be more secure. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction as he caressed the little golden man beside him. Crack. The little golden man took a bite of the origin of heavenly Tao and nodded. In the following days, Chu Kuangren dealt with various internal affairs. The firmament empire had just been established, so he had many things to do. Xiantian City, Imperial Palace. Chu Kuangren was currently dealing with a few internal affairs regarding establishing diplomatic relations with the demonic beasts. Now that the empire was the strongest force in Firmament Star, and with the Tao Lords keeping watch, the demonic beasts would not be able to cause any trouble. Chu Kuangren fell into deep thought as he stared at the vast starry sky outside the house. Beside him, Elder Rian sighed. My king, this is the 7th time this month that you've been staring at the starry sky in a daze. Oh, is that so? Chu Kuangren smiled and did not comment. You want to leave? Elder Rian saw through the other party's thoughts with a single sentence. Yes, the Firmament Empire has been established. You and the Tao Lords will handle the matters of development. The starry sky is very big, and I want to explore it. Moreover, I killed Purple Star's immortal seed, so Purple Star will not let this matter rest. I have to become stronger as soon as possible. At the very least. Immortal Ascension. Chu Kuangren nodded and said calmly. The appearance of the blood god gave him a sense of urgency. In this vast universe, there were countless strong cultivators. So what if he was the ruler of Firmament Star? Perhaps in the eyes of the immortals, Firmament Star could be destroyed with a snap of their fingers. If my king wishes to leave, then let the Tao Lords know. I don't think they will stop you, Elder Rian said. That's what I was thinking. Not long after, Chu Kuangren gathered the Tao Lords. Indeed, no one stopped him from doing so. My king, you are the one with the highest chance of becoming an immortal. Firmament Star's resources are not enough to nurture an immortal. Only by exploring the vast universe will there be hope, the Dharma Tao Lord said. He was the one who most approved of Chu Kuangren's decision to explore the universe. He deeply understood that only when Firmament Star had its own immortal, could it truly stand on its own feet in the universe. After receiving the unanimous approval of the Tao Lords, Chu Kuangren gradually handed over the tasks at hand to Gu Linglong and Elder Rian, who were once empresses and had experience in managing an empire. Before he left the master of the Heavenly Path's battle puppet in the empire. That was the biggest trump card he had left for the empire. With a master of the Heavenly Path guarding it, even the Purple Star civilization would not dare to act recklessly. The next time I return, the empire will stand at the peak of this galaxy. Chu Kuangren looked at Firmament Star and murmured. Without any hesitation, he turned around and left. There were more exciting and unknown things waiting for him in front of him. In the vast universe, an uninhabited star was collapsing and shrinking. It was as if there was an astral beast that fed on stars within it. In the end, the star disappeared. A figure appeared in the void. Chu Kuangren sensed the power within his body. My physical body has been strengthened. I'm one step closer to the peak of the starry immortal physique. The peak of the starry immortal physique required an incomparably large amount of astral energy. It was 10 times more than the mastery level. After familiarizing himself with his power, Chu Kuangren summoned a battleship and continued to sail into the distance. It had been more than half a year since he left Firmament Star. For the past half a year, he had been cruising in the Sea of Stars. Occasionally, he would come across some uninhabited planets and devour them. There's a battleship approaching. On this day, Chu Kuangren was using his emperor's thought to sense his surroundings when he suddenly noticed a few battleships approaching him. Was it a coincidence? Or did they come with ill intentions? Chu Kuangren decided to wait and see first. After all, it had been a few months, and this was the first time he encountered someone from another civilization. Not long after, the few battleships surrounded Chu Kuangren. Through his emperor's thought, Chu Kuangren also saw the cultivators on those battleships. Some were humans, and some were strange-looking beasts. Chu Kuangren even saw a few of them with octopus heads. The battleships in front, stop right there. Among them, the leader of the group was a burly human who wore a golden scale armor and held a trident in his hand. He used his emperor's thought to communicate with Chu Kuangren. "May I know what you're here for?" Chu Kuangren asked politely. "Oh, it's a human cultivator, and such a good-looking one at that." A female demonic cultivator could not help but say in surprise. "Heh, I don't care if he's good-looking or not. I can tell that his battleship is pretty good, so there must be a lot of good stuff on it." Another cultivator with an octopus head chuckled and said. Chu Kuangren had a strange look on his face when he heard their conversation. Did he just run into bandits? Interstellar bandits? "Human cultivator, get off the ship and hand over your yin and yang rings and other valuables. If you do, we'll spare your life," the golden-armored man said. Chu Kuangren did not reply. Instead, he looked at these people. "Shall AI help me analyze what kind of monsters they are?" "Yes." Under the analysis of the all-knowing spirit, Shao AI, information about these people emerged one by one. They were from a few civilizations. Their cultivation realms varied as well. Some of them were below the emperor realm, and some were emperors and heavenly honorables. As for Dao lords, there was not a single one. The strongest among them was the golden-armored man, an upper heavenly honorable. Who gave them the courage to rob him? Chapter 833. Who gave you the courage to rob me when you're so weak? Chu Kuangren slowly walked out of the warship. Everyone at the scene could not help but narrow their eyes as they stared at Chu Kuangren with a cold look in their eyes. How dare you? A mere human cultivator dares to resist us? Let me see what he's made of. The octopus-headed cultivator took a step forward and unleashed a powerful aura before he charged towards Chu Kuangren. He held a heavy hammer in his hand and smashed it towards Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren did not move an inch. He flicked his finger. A golden-red phoenix flame shot out and landed on the cultivator's body, burning him into charcoal in the blink of an eye. Vaguely, there was a meaty aroma in the air. "He's turned into an octopus." Chu Kuangren smirked as he said. The other cultivators narrowed their eyes and went on high alert. They looked at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. Captain Octopus is a 9th-level Emperor Realm cultivator, yet he was defeated so easily. Just how strong is he? He's at least a heavenly venerable. Looks like we've met a tough opponent. The burly man in golden armor took a step forward and arrived in the void. He stared at Chu Kuangren and unleashed his heavenly honorable domineering aura. Seeing this, everyone's eyes were filled with hope. Our leader has made his move. The great leader is an upper-level heavenly lord. As long as he makes a move, this fellow will definitely not be a match for him. That's right, this kid is dead meat, everyone said excitedly. Meanwhile, the golden-armored man's body erupted with an incredibly powerful emperor's chi. Daoist patterns spread and formed a small world. The heavenly venerable small world enveloped Chu Kuangren's warship. "Take this, kid." The golden-armored man held the trident in his hand and smashed it towards Chu Kuangren. The majestic emperor's chi was like a falling star. Chu Kuangren stood his ground. He gently raised his hand and pointed a finger. The trident collided with that finger and the emperor's chi dispersed. It was stopped in mid-air, unable to move forward, let alone hurt Chu Kuangren. How weak. Chu Kuangren shook his head. He flicked his finger. With a bang, the trident exploded on the spot. The golden-armored man flew out and smashed into his own warship. His expression was incomparably terrified. What kind of existence did he provoke? Run! Run! The golden-armored man didn't dare to stay any longer. Everyone hurriedly turned the boat around and was about to leave. However, it was not easy for Chu Kuangren to encounter people from another civilization. Even if they were bandits, how could they let them go so easily? With a wave of his hand, the pocket dimension opened up. The battleships were instantly frozen in midair. The bandits were forced to lie on the deck of the warship by the terrifying pressure of the world, unable to move, their faces filled with fear. You're trying to learn how to rob others with such little strength? Chu Kuangren curled his lips. The golden-armored man and the others wanted to cry, but no tears came out. They were definitely not weak. In the Violet Gold Galaxy, being able to attain the Dao Lord realm was already considered an expert. There was an upper celestial venerable among them, and he could also be considered an expert. However, who would have thought that he would be defeated by Chu Kuangren today? Now, do as I say, and maybe I'll let you live. Do you understand? Yes, yes, everyone quickly nodded. Then, Chu Kuangren asked about the Violet Gold Galaxy, including the division of civilizations, their resources, and their experts. In the Violet Gold Galaxy, there were two strongest civilizations. They were the Purple Star and Venus, both of which were immortal civilizations. Under these two civilizations, there were thousands of civilizations of various sizes in the Violet Gold Galaxy, and most of them were under the jurisdiction of these two civilizations. Other than the civilizations, there were also some orthodoxies in this galaxy that were not part of the civilizations, and their strength was not to be underestimated. Some of them could even fight against an entire civilization. After understanding the basic situation, Chu Kuangren fell into deep thought. It seems that even without the blood source planet, the firmament star will eventually be targeted by other civilizations, be it the Purple Star or Venus. On the contrary, he should be thankful that the blood source planet was similar in strength to the firmament star. That was why they could fight for so long. If it was the Venus or the Purple Star, they would not have lasted this long. What civilizations are around here? Chu Kuangren asked. Master, the closest one is the Wind Planet. I also have a star map of the Violet Gold Galaxy with me. If you need it, I'll bring it to you immediately, the golden-armored man said. Go. Chu Kuangren was not afraid that they would play any tricks. Soon. Chu Kuangren received a star map of the Violet Gold Galaxy. Leave all your resources here and get lost. Chu Kuangren said. After traveling in the universe for so long, the resources in the warship were almost depleted. It was a good time to replenish them. The golden-armored man and the others did not dare to resist. They quickly handed over all their resources and left dejectedly. Being robbed by the bandits was just a small interlude. Chu Kuangren followed the star map and headed towards the nearby Wind Planet civilization. A few months later, he saw a brown-yellow star. He kept the warship and entered the Wind Planet. The moment he stepped into the star, there was no heavenly Dao fluctuation. It seemed like there was no heavenly Dao on the Wind Planet. Chu Kuangren pondered. According to the information he obtained from the bandits, the Wind Planet was one of the Purple Star's subsidiary civilizations. In other words, the heavenly Dao of the Wind Planet might have been stolen. The art of seizing the heavens is a key to the development of the firmament star. Looks like I'll have to pay attention to this information in the future. Chu Kuangren pondered. Then, he scanned the entire Wind Planet with his Emperor's thought. Other than the native civilizations of the Wind Planet, there were also people from other civilizations. Most of them were like Chu Kuangren, who traveled the universe and came to the Wind Planet to rest or replenish their resources. There were many ways to replenish their resources, but most of them were through bartering. There were also those who robbed directly. However, that would easily attract the strong cultivators of the Wind Planet, and a battle would break out. The warship requires a large amount of spiritual marrow to power. The Wind Planet should have some. Chu Kuangren's figure flashed and he arrived at a city. In the city, there were people of different appearances. Most of them were humans, but of course, there were also some foreign races. The human race was the most compatible with the heavenly Tao. Hence, among the various races in the universe, the human race was the largest. Chu Kuangren found a bartering resource exchange and took out a primary god's godhead, intending to exchange it for a spiritual marrow. Upon seeing that godhead, the receptionist in charge of the exchange was stunned. This aura belongs to a deity. It's a godhead. Moreover, it's a primary god's godhead that's comparable to a Daolord's. This is a priceless item in the purple gold galaxy. The receptionist's gaze towards Chu Kuangren changed instantly. His face was full of smiles as he enthusiastically exchanged for a pile of spiritual marrow. He even gave Chu Kuangren several emperor weapons and local specialties. Chapter 834. Heavenly Wind Planet. Inside a restaurant. Chu Kuangren was drinking while collecting as much information as he could. Have you heard? The Hollow Immortal of Dusty Sky Planet has set up a formation that hides a top-notch Dao weapon. I heard that anyone who can break through the formation will obtain that Dao weapon. Oh, did the Hollow Immortal refine another Dao weapon? Yeah, he's giving it to others again. Tisk, it's only been a few hundred years since the last time he refined a Dao weapon. He managed to gather all the materials in such a short amount of time to refine a Dao weapon. His refining skills are really impressive. He's lived for so long, and he's a Hollow Immortal, so he's definitely powerful. I heard that the Dao artifact this time is extremely rare, and Hollow Immortal Chen Tian himself said that it's one of the most satisfying works he's made in his entire life. It attracted countless people, including a few immortal seeds. Wow. That's impressive. Voices of discussion could be heard. Chu Kuangren was deep in thought. The Hollow Immortal, Dao weapon, and immortal seeds had appeared. His interest was piqued. Since I don't have a clear destination for now, I might as well go take a look. With that in mind, he began his journey to Dusty Sky Planet. Along the way, he collected some information about the Hollow Immortal. The Hollow Immortal was one of the strongest cultivators in the purple gold galaxy. The Hollow Immortal was a title. It was the cultivator closest to becoming an immortal in the purple gold galaxy. However, most Hollow Immortals could not become immortals because they had lived for too long and exhausted their potential. They could only stay at the doorstep of immortality, unable to cross over. They could see the level of immortals, but they could not cross over. The Hollow Immortal. An illusory immortal. This was an extremely sad thing. There were many Hollow Immortals hidden in the universe. The Hollow Immortal was just one of them. However, this Hollow Immortal was a little special. Rumor had it that this person was once an immortal seed. However, because his potential was exhausted, he could not become an immortal and had been depressed for thousands of years. In the end, he switched to craftsmanship and spent 30,000 years to become a famous craftsmanship grandmaster in the purple gold galaxy. Later on, he switched to cultivating formations, and he similarly spent a few tens of thousands of years to attain perfection in the Tao of formations. He'd once used stars to set up a formation and killed a void immortal who'd made a name for himself a long time ago, causing a great uproar. Ever since then, the Dust Sky Virtual Immortal found a star to live in seclusion. Every few days, he would refine some Tao artifacts and give them to fated people, using this opportunity to accumulate good karma. His reputation in the purple gold star system was very high. Several months of sailing. Chu Kuangren arrived at the Dusty Sky Star where the Dusty Sky Immortal was. Apart from him, there were many other battleships near the star. They were all eyeing the peerless Tao artifacts refined by the Mortal Sky Illusionary Immortal. It should be known that a Tao artifact crafted by a Hollow Immortal of the Mortal Heaven realm was a top-notch Tao artifact. Even the Heaven Tao Master would fight for it like a flock of ducks. However, the Mortal Sky Void Immortals had a rule. The Tao artifacts that he refined would only be given to the fated prodigies. Swoosh, a beam of golden light shot out from the dust star. The golden light transformed into two white jade pillars. Two white dragons were carved on the pillars, and there was a screen of light between the pillars that looked like a door. If you wish to break through the array and obtain the Dao artifact, you must first pass this test. An ethereal voice was heard. Everyone knew that this was one of the tests of the hollow immortal of the mortal heaven realm. TSK, this white jade dragon gate is a Dao artifact crafted by the hollow immortal of the cloudy sky void immortal. It can test a person's age and aptitude. Only by passing this door can one enter the array and fight for the peerless Dao artifact. A knowledgeable Daoist master said. At that moment, a figure had already dashed towards the white jade dragon gate. He came before the light screen, and a white light shot out from the eyes of the two dragon statues on the white jade dragon gate and scanned that person. 1,600 years old. One of the white dragons said. Aptitude, superior. The other white dragon also spoke. You may enter. The two white dragons said at the same time. That person had a smug look on his face before he walked into the light screen. TSK, if I'm not mistaken, that person should be a peerless sky pride from the yellow cloud planet. He's only 1,600 years old, but he's already reached the heavenly honorable realm. No wonder he's recognized by the Dragon Gate. His aptitude is superior. A Daoist master said. Everyone's emperor's thoughts converged in the void as they discussed among themselves. Chu Kuangren's emperor's thoughts circulated as he listened to everyone's discussion. However, he was not in a hurry to enter. To him, since he had just left the firmament star, this was a good opportunity to get to know the sky prides of the purple star galaxy. Whoosh, another person was about to enter the Dragon Gate. There was a flash of light. 101,012 years old. Aptitude, inferior. You may not enter. That person was also a heavenly honorable, but he had only reached the heavenly honorable realm after cultivating for more than 100,000 years. Hence, he was rated as inferior by the Dragon Gate and could not enter. D****, I insist on entering. That person flew into a rage out of humiliation and charged towards the Dragon Gate. Roar. At that moment, the two white dragons on the Dragon Gate let out a roar. A terrifying aura instantly erupted as scorching white dragon flames gushed out from their mouths. In an instant, the heavenly honorable was burned into ashes. Everyone swallowed their saliva and couldn't help but be shocked. What a terrifying flame. That power is at least at the level of a Daoist master. Is this the power of a pseudo-immortal? Everyone was amazed. On the warship, Chu Kuangren was deep in thought. The power of that dragon flame is not much weaker than the blood gods. This Dao weapon is quite powerful. With the heavenly honorable's lesson, no one dared to act rashly. One by one, those who wanted to challenge the formation and obtain the Dao weapon obediently accepted the test. Those who passed the test then entered the light screen one by one. 3,610 years old. Superior aptitude. At that moment, the white dragon in the Dragon Gate uttered a shocking statement. Everyone looked at the person who accepted the test in shock. Superior aptitude. F***ck me, this is the first time a superior aptitude sky pride has appeared. Hold on, this person is the Purple Star 8th sequence, Ziyun Fan. What, Purple Star sequence? Isn't that an immortal seed? No wonder he received the superior aptitude evaluation. That superior aptitude sky pride was a handsome young man in a purple dragon robe. His eyes glowed with a faint purple light. That person was the Purple Star 8th sequence, Ziyun Fan. He was not surprised that he received the superior aptitude evaluation. He walked towards the light screen with his head held high and entered the formation while everyone was still in shock. At that moment, another golden ray of light arrived. It was a gloomy-looking young man with long, narrow brows. It's the Golden Star 9th sequence, Jianghu. Someone exclaimed. The white dragon glanced at him. 3,500 years old. Superior aptitude. You can enter. Another superior aptitude, another immortal seed. Everyone was shocked. After Ziyun Fan and Jianghu, a few other superior aptitude skyprides appeared. Among them was a swordsman with a black iron sword hanging from his waist. He was not a purple star or golden star celestial seed. However, he also had superior aptitude, which was very surprising. After the emergence of the skyprides, Chu Kuangren could not help but smile. Interesting. Looks like this trip wasn't a waste after all. He had been lonely for too long. Now, he was finally a little interested. Just look. There were so many skyprides in this vast universe. There must be one or two that he was interested in. Chapter 835. Amazing. I counted just now. This time, there are 10 geniuses with super great aptitude. Among them, 7 are immortal seeds cultivated by Gold Star and Purple Star. As for the other 3, their origins are unknown. They might be geniuses cultivated by ancient orthodoxies. In the past, even if the illusionary immortal of Mortal Sky Realm refined a Dao weapon, he would at most produce 1 or 2 supreme aptitude immortal seeds. Now, there are 10 of them, and maybe even more. Why do I smell an unusual aura? Indeed. Maybe the Dao weapon refined by the illusionary immortal of Mortal Sky Realm is too attractive. After all, he said it himself that it's the best product he's ever made. That's possible too. As the immortal seeds appeared one after another, the crowd began to discuss fervently. Chu Kuangren also moved. He kept his warship and walked towards the white jade dragon gate. The crowd looked at him and could not help but be surprised. I can't see through this person's aura. Not only that, but this person's aura is just too extraordinary. This aura, this appearance. TSK, I don't think there are many beauties in the purple gold galaxy who have the most outstanding looks. Indeed, he's too extraordinary. What do you guys think his aptitude is? Since he looks so extraordinary, he should be above average. Due to the consecutive appearance of the immortal seeds, coupled with Chu Kuangren's extraordinary aura, he was now the center of attention. Chu Kuangren had also arrived at the dragon gate. The 2 white dragons glanced at him and released a white light that swept over him. Chu Kuangren felt a little warm inside his body. It was like he was soaking in warm water. 39 years old. Chu Kuangren suddenly felt a little emotional when he heard that. It was said that cultivation was timeless, and before he knew it, he was already in his 40s. He did not feel anything. That was only the age of his physical body. His soul had lived for more than 10,000 years in the ancient times of Firmament Star. To him, time was just a string of numbers. He would only feel emotional when he thought about it occasionally. However, when the surrounding cultivators found out about his age, they were all dumbfounded. They looked at him as if they had seen a ghost. 39 years old? This guy, he can't be here to mess with us, right? What kind of cultivation can a 39-year-old achieve? What is he here for? That's right. Little friend, have you reached the sage realm yet? You have come here to cause trouble. Hurry up and go home. Your mother wants you to go back and eat. 39. No matter how good one's aptitude is, being able to cultivate to the saint realm is already the limit. What's the point of fighting for a Dao artifact here? Exactly, everyone looked at Chu Kuangren in disdain. It was as if they were looking at a little kid who had not even learned how to walk before challenging a group of adults. However, some people sensed that something was amiss. They looked at the white dragon. That white dragon seemed to have even reported his aptitude. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren turned a deaf ear to the discussions around him. He looked at the white dragon, wanting to know what his own potential was like. Aptitude quality. However, the white dragon could not say anything. Looking at the white dragon that was like a repeater, Chu Kuangren had a strange expression on his face. Don't tell me the dragon sect has crashed. Was it that difficult to register for aptitude? Didn't it go quite smoothly when reporting the others? Xiao AI, what's wrong with him? Chu Kuangren asked in his mind. He must have seen something he shouldn't have. The spirit of omniscience, Xiao Ai sneered in her heart. Trying to decipher its master's aptitude with a mere Dao artifact? You must be tired of living. Crack, crack, at that moment, the white dragon that was like a repeater let out a miserable howl as cracks appeared on its body. With a loud bang, the white dragon shattered into pieces. The other white dragon was dumbfounded as it looked at its companion's broken body. The other cultivators were also dumbfounded. What is this? His deduction aptitude destroyed his own deduction. Oh my god, the White Jade Dragon sect has existed for so many years, but this has never happened before. What did this guy do? At that moment, a golden ray of light flew out and turned into a white jade dragon pillar. Little friend, please come in. An old voice was heard. It was the ethereal immortal of the mortal heaven realm. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly and glanced curiously at the newly appeared white jade dragon pillar. It seemed like this thing was mass-produced. No wonder the quality was so bad that it broke so easily. The newly appeared white jade dragon pillar trembled when Chu Kuangren looked at it. It closed its eyes and did not dare to look at him. It was afraid that it would shatter into pieces like the unlucky white jade dragon pillar before. Chu Kuangren touched his face. Do I look that scary? I'm quite handsome. Forget it, this dragon's taste is terrible. Chu Kuangren complained in his heart as he stepped into the light screen. Even after he left, the crowd was still discussing among themselves. After a while, the examination continued. In the dusty sky star. In a palace that was suspended in the clouds. A white-haired old man looked at the light screen in front of him in shock. The light screen showed the scene of the dragon pillar shattering. How can someone like this exist? His aptitude has exceeded the white jade dragon pillar's range of estimation. Even the white jade dragon pillar collapsed on its own as it tried to decipher his aptitude. It's as if it has triggered some sort of taboo. Even those second-generation immortals wouldn't be this ridiculous. The old man, who was the imaginary immortal Chen Tian, mumbled to himself. Then, he looked at the shattered white jade dragon pillar and revealed a pained expression. I've spent a lot of effort to refine this white jade dragon pillar, and I only have a few of them. One of them is equivalent to a few Dao weapons. He shook his head and waved his hand. The light screen in front of him flickered and switched to the scene of the great cloudy formation that he had set up. Let me see which sky prides are here this time. Inside the great cloudy formation, Chu Kuangren arrived in front of a forest of steels. At the end of the forest, there was a door that said, "Those who enter this door will advance to the next stage." In the forest of steels, some cultivators were already trying to break through the formation. However, their appearance was quite unsightly. Some cultivators were drooling as they hugged the stone tablet, while others were wielding weapons. Their eyes were bloodshot as they bombarded the stone tablet. If one didn't know better, they would think that the stone tablet was their father's murderer. Chu Kuangren looked at the steels in front of him with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Oh, this is a formation that can confuse people's minds. Chu Kuangren knew a thing or two about formations. After all, the legendary formation master's inheritance was there for all to see. In addition to that, the Earth's soul and human soul had also studied this in the past 10,000 years. Even Chu Kuangren himself did not know what level his formation mastery had reached. But it's not difficult to break this formation. Chu Kuangren walked into the steels as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Soon, he arrived in front of the door and walked in without looking back. The first stage of the great cloudy formation was broken. Outside the formation, the heavenly dust immortal's expression changed slightly. This guy actually knows about formations, and it looks like he's quite proficient in it. Those few steps he took just now were all on the key points of the steel's formation. Interesting. My great cloudy formation has a total of 9 stages, and it's made up of 99 interconnected formations. I'd like to see how many stages you can break and how many formations you can break. First, Chu Kuangren destroyed a white jade dragon pillar, and now he easily broke the first stage's formation. The heavenly dust immortal could not help but feel competitive. Chapter 836. Inside the illusionary cloud formation, the second stage. What appeared before Chu Kuangren was a sea of fire. The sea of fire burned fiercely, and the temperature was so high that it was difficult to approach. In the sea of flames, there were some geniuses who used their emperor qi to isolate the flames, but there were also some who were unable to resist the flames and were badly burned. Among them, the most eye-catching were a few prodigies. A young swordsman with a black long sword on his back was surrounded by sword qi. Countless flames could not approach him, and he easily passed through the sea of fire. He was in existence at the Dao Lord realm. There was also a woman whose body was flowing with a pale blue radiance. When the flames landed on her body, they automatically dissipated. These people were all celestial seed-level prodigies. At this moment, they were attracted over by the top Dao artifact of the Dust Sky Illusionary Celestial. Between the two of them, they were actually going against each other. Everyone was an immortal seed, so they wanted to see who was better. Very soon, a few of the immortal seeds had passed the second stage. Chu Kuangren then walked into the sea of flames and unleashed his sword qi at a few different locations. Wherever he walked, the flames would automatically open up a path. Seeing this, everyone was dumbfounded. What's the situation? This raging inferno array is useless against him? It's the life gate of the formation. Quick, follow him. Upon seeing that, some of the cultivators wanted to follow Chu Kuangren. However, they were instantly engulfed by the flames the moment they stepped forward. Chu Kuangren shook his head and said, "This formation is ever-changing. One moment, it's the door of life, but the next moment, it might not be the same." After saying that, he ignored them. In the blink of an eye, he entered the third stage. The third stage, weak water formation. Chu Kuangren saw through the crux of the formation and broke it with a single strike of his sword. Then, the fourth stage, the fifth stage, the sixth stage, Chu Kuangren was unstoppable. Outside the array. The void immortal mortal heaven couldn't help but be surprised. This person's formation ability is actually so brilliant. No matter how the formation changes, he can see through it with a single glance. This level of array mastery is no weaker than mine. The most important thing is that this person is only 39 years old. It's only been a few decades. Even if he spent his entire life on arrays, it shouldn't be this exaggerated. The virtual immortal mortal heavenly dust immortal frowned, he was puzzled. Inside the cloud illusionary formation. The seventh stage. The difficulty of the seventh stage was extraordinary. It was the 10,000 swords formation. Within the sword formation, a myriad of strands of sword qi moved about without end, and every single strand of sword qi contained a strand of energy that shook the soul. Tens of thousands of swords flew in the air, interweaving to form a huge sword net. The challengers were all blocked outside the sword net. Those who could make it to the seventh stage were all extraordinary heaven's favorites. Most of them were extremely talented. However, even they were helpless against the sword formation in front of them. "I'll break the formation." A prodigy wielded a Dao spear and flew into the sword array. He brandished the spear and clashed with the sword qi. The clanging sounds continued. However, not long after, that prodigy was struck by several streaks of sword qi. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He looked at the sword formation with a face full of indignation. What a powerful sword formation. Within the sword array, the sword qi shattered by the prodigies recovered. The 10,000 streaks of sword qi were unscathed. The net of swords was dense, and it actually caused one to be unable to find the slightest opportunity to take advantage of. "Humph, you want to block my way with a mere sword formation?" Another prodigy walked out. He carried a golden longsword on his back. Dao patterns intertwined on the sword, dazzling and dazzling. Sword qi circulated around his body, making him look extremely domineering. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw him. "Oh, it's Zhao Wutian, the top heaven's favorite of the heavenly wind planet. Rumor has it that he has the inheritance of the master of the heavenly Dao, and his sword Dao is very high. Maybe he can break this sword formation." This person can be said to be one of the top heaven's favorites, second only to the deity seed. Even if he doesn't become an immortal, he has a high chance of becoming the master of the heavenly Tao in the future. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Zhao Wuqian made his move. The long sword on his back was unsheathed with a clang and landed in his hand. The emperor's chi surged and was injected into the long sword. After a flash of golden light, the domineering golden sword chi pierced through the sky with the power to shatter the stars. With a boom, the void exploded. Countless streaks of sword chi were shattered. Everyone's eyes lit up. He did it. Zhao Wuqian couldn't help but smirk. That's all. However, the next moment, thousands of streaks of sword chi converged to form a huge silver-white sword shadow, shattering Zhao Wuqian's golden sword chi. The two streaks of sword chi collided, and a huge impact swept out. Zhao Wuqian was the first to be hit. He flew backward and spat out a mouthful of blood. How can this be? This sword formation actually has a second transformation? Zhao Wuqian's face was pale, and his eyes were dark. The rest of the cultivators all revealed looks of disappointment. Even Zhao Wuqian can't break this array. It seems like only a prodigy of the celestial seed level can break this array. The 7th stage is already so difficult. I wonder how difficult the later stages will be. This Tao artifact is too rare. The virtual immortal Chen Tian said that this is his proudest work, so it's reasonable for him to set up such a difficult test. Everyone looked at a few figures not far away. They were the celestial seeds. They were the only ones who had a chance of breaking this 7th stage array. Everyone, who wants to go first? Ziyan Fan, the celestial seed, smiled. Beside him, a swordsman in a black robe had sword chi circulating around his body. He looked at the sword formation with a bright light in his eyes. It seems like fellow Daoist Fei Yun is going to make a move. Ziyan Fan and the others looked at the black-robed swordsman. This person's name was Feng Feiyun. He was the inheritor of an ancient orthodoxy in the Purple Gold Galaxy, an orthodoxy that even the Purple Star sect was wary of. Just as the celestial seed Feng Feiyun was about to make his move, all of a sudden, the sound of footsteps could be heard. A handsome young man in a wide-sleeved white robe with a gorgeous white jade longsword hanging on his waist slowly walked in. The young man had waist-length black hair, sharp eyebrows, and bright eyes. There seemed to be a faint smile on his face, which made people feel good about him. His white robe was peerless and handsome. Even the celestial seeds could not help but look at him. Who is this person? How can he have such an extraordinary aura? This aura is extraordinary. Could it be that he's also an celestial seed? I've never seen him before. It was Chu Kuangren. Feng Feiyun, who was about to make his move, stopped for a while because of his appearance. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren walked straight towards the Thousand Swords formation. He's going to break the formation. I'm curious to see what he's capable of. The celestial seed's interest was piqued. Meanwhile, Zhao Wuqian, who had failed to break the formation, had consumed a Daoist pill that he had kept for a long time. His injuries were almost healed. He gripped the Daoist sword in his hand tightly, trying to break the formation again. Excuse me. At that moment, a cold voice rang in his ears. Zhao Wuqian frowned and looked behind him. He saw Chu Kuangren standing behind him with his hands behind his back. Why are you giving way? Don't block my way. You can't break it. Chu Kuangren glanced at him and said. He had observed this formation before. If one was not as proficient in formations as he was, they would need to be at least a Daoist master to break it. It was a shame. Zhao Wuqian was just a top-tier heavenly honorable. Although he was a Daoist master. Still, he was not a Daoist master. How dare you look down on me? Zhao Wuqian's expression darkened as a powerful sword pressure erupted from his body and locked onto Chu Kuangren. The long sword in his hand trembled slightly before he slashed out. Chapter 837. Zhao Wutian flew into a rage out of humiliation and struck out with his sword. However, the sword ray stopped in midair as two fingers clamped onto the golden longsword, shattering it. Everyone's eyes widened at the sight. Even the celestial seed could not help but be stunned. Although Zhao Wutian was not an celestial seed, his strength was not something an ordinary person could match. He was invincible against anyone below the Daoist master level. Daoist. Daoist master. Zhao Wutian swallowed his saliva. It could not be. He had encountered a Daoist master. How could this be? Weren't those who could challenge the formation all sky prides? Most of the sky prides who had reached the Daoist master level were celestial seeds. He remembered all of them, afraid that he would accidentally provoke them. However, he had no impression of this person before him. This person was in celestial seed. You're too hot-tempered to attack just because of a disagreement. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then, with a flick of his finger, the golden longsword let out a series of sword cries, and a huge force exploded from the sword. Zhao Wutian's arm trembled, and the longsword flew out of his hand. Chu Kuangren casually swung his hand, and the golden longsword flew out and pierced through Zhao Wutian's chest, bringing him into the sword formation. There was a loud explosion. Zhao Wutian was shattered by the sword qi and turned into a mist of blood. Daoist master. This person is definitely a Daoist master. It's not just a Daoist master. Those who can challenge the formation are all quite young, and this person is in celestial seed. An unfamiliar celestial seed. Interesting, the crowd gasped and looked at Chu Kuangren with a serious expression. After killing Zhao Wutian, Chu Kuangren did not stop and walked straight towards the Thousand Swords formation. He lifted his finger and a purple ray of light shot out. The purple ray was like a sword that shuttled back and forth in the sword formation. Any sword qi that got close to him was shattered. He actually passed through the 7th round without the slightest effort. This move made the crowd even more dumbfounded. How did he do it? It can't be. The purple ray of light from his finger isn't that powerful. It's not even as powerful as Zhao Wutian's sword qi. Then how did he break through the sword formation? The crowd was puzzled. Only a handful of people could see the trick. Using an array to break an array. Good move. This person can be said to be a grandmaster in the Tao of formations. That purple light just now was able to accurately strike the sword qi formation's formation core. The other immortal seeds looked at each other and followed suit. In terms of formation Tao, they were naturally far inferior to Chu Kuangren. However, it was not impossible for them to break the formation with brute force. The 8th stage. This trial was much stronger than the 10,000 swords formation. It was a 5 ways mega formation. Even for Chu Kuangren, it was still a little difficult, so he stayed there for a while. After studying it for a while, he began to break the formation. By the time he broke the formation, the immortal seeds had already arrived. As an immortal seed, not to mention attaining the Tao Lord realm, he actually has the time to study formations to such an extent. Could it be that he entered the Tao through arrays? It's possible. All the immortal seeds were secretly guessing. An immortal seed that came out of nowhere was worth paying attention to. Over the years, other than our purple star and Venus, a few more immortal seeds have appeared. It seems that the great opportunity is about to appear. Zi Yunfan murmured. Beside him, the eyes of the other immortal seeds lit up when they heard his words. They were looking forward to that great opportunity. Chu Kuangren did not know about the so-called great opportunity. After breaking the 5 ways mega formation, he arrived at the 9th stage. The 9th stage. The final stage of the Great Cloudy Formation. This stage was extremely mysterious. There were many interlocking formations, such as confusion formations, entrapment formations, siege formations, and so on. In order to break such a formation, one would have to go through a lot of complicated deductions and calculations. It was a very energy-consuming task. Chu Kuangren could have broken the formation with brute force. However, he had been breaking formations with his own throughout his journey. Now, he did not want to give up halfway. He wanted to find out what his limits were in terms of formations. I, Chu Kuangren, have never been weaker than anyone, be it in terms of cultivation or formation. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up as he looked at the great formation before him, filled with pride. He began to deduce the formation. Ziyan Fan, Cool Gold, and the others looked solemn when they saw the formation. They knew that it was not a formation that could be broken by one person. Everyone, this formation is not simple. Even for us, breaking it will be extremely difficult. Why don't we work together? Ziyan Fan suggested. The others pondered for a while before they agreed. Sure. Let's work together to break the formation. As for the Dao weapon, we'll have to rely on our own abilities. That's settled then. Ziyan Fan nodded. Then, he looked at Chu Kuangren, who was still trying to decipher the formation. He stepped forward and said, "Fellow Daoist, it won't be easy to decipher this formation. Why don't you join forces with us to break it?" Chu Kuangren shook his head. No need. A Dao weapon. He did not care whether he could get it or not. Compared to the Dao weapon, he was more interested in breaking the formation in front of him. Ziyan Fan frowned when he heard Chu Kuangren's words, but he did not try to persuade him. Then I wish you good luck. After that, he and the other immortal seeds dived into the 9th stage. Outside the formation. The heavenly dust immortal shook his head as he looked at Chu Kuangren, who was trying to deduce the formation. This person is too arrogant. This formation is the essence of my array Dao, and its mysteriousness is incomparable to the previous ones. No matter how high your array Dao cultivation is, you won't be able to master it without a few years. After a few years, the Dao weapon would have been taken by someone else. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days had passed. Inside the formation, Ziyan Fan, Cool Gold, and the others had finally passed this stage after going through the torment of the formation. What appeared in front of them was a vast palace. In the palace, there was a white ball of light with Daoist patterns flowing within it. A powerful Dao weapon's fluctuation spread out from it. Is this the peerless Dao weapon? What a powerful fluctuation. It's mine now. Even the immortal seeds could not help but feel excited at the sight of this peerless Dao weapon. Ziyan Fan immediately made his move and dashed towards the ball of light. However, the moment he made his move, the others also made their moves. Feng Feishuan unsheathed his longsword and blocked Ziyan Fan's attack. The others also engaged in a fierce battle. The comrades who were originally working together in the formation immediately turned against each other. They fought fiercely for the Dao weapon. Everyone had expected this to happen. We'll have to fight sooner or later anyway. In that case, I'll try out the Royal Heaven Sword sex techniques today. Ziyan Fan sneered. Please. Feng Feishuan said indifferently. Just as the immortal seeds were engaged in a fierce battle. In front of the 9th stage of the cloudy illusionary formation. Chu Kuangren was still deducing the method to break the formation. He was not doing it alone, but the 3 souls, heaven, earth, and human, were all doing it at the same time. That was extremely terrifying. One Chu Kuangren's level of comprehension was already extremely abnormal. Let alone 3 of them. Initially, the heavenly dust immortal thought that Chu Kuangren would need at least a few years to figure out the method to break the last stage. However, there was no need for that. 5 days. It only took him 5 days to figure out the crux of the formation. Now, it's time to break the formation. A terrifying ray of light shot out from Chu Kuangren's eyes. Chapter 838. Now is the time to break the formation. Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed with a terrifying light. He took a step forward and entered the formation. With him at the center, a majestic sword pressure spread in all directions like a tidal wave. In an instant, the ground shook. At the same time, the entire cloudy formation shook. Inside the formation, the group of immortal seeds sensed the aura and stopped fighting. They looked at the source of the aura in shock. Outside the formation, the imaginary immortal dust sky's expression changed. Inside the 9th stage. The moment Chu Kuangren stepped into the formation, countless layers of interlocking formations whizzed towards him, either to trap, kill, or trap him. The formation patterns flowed brilliantly. However, at that moment, along with the terrifying sword pressure, the Descendant's self-sword was unsheathed. Sword chi swirled around the body of the magnificent sword. It transformed into a streak of light and struck on the openings of the 9th level of the Cloud Void formation. With a series of loud explosions, the interlocking formations that formed the 9th stage were broken one after another, losing their power. A white palace appeared in Chu Kuangren's vision. Within the palace, waves of Daoist weapons could be felt. The Descendant's self-sword returned to its scabbard. Chu Kuangren looked at the palace and chuckled. It seems that the Daoist weapon has not been taken by the immortal seeds. I shall not hold back then. Break the formation first, then take the Daoist weapon. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back and walked towards the white palace with his head held high. Meanwhile, outside the formation, the imaginary immortal dust sky was dumbfounded when he saw that the formation had been broken. 5 days? I've studied this formation for tens of thousands of years, yet he only took 5 days to break it. What kind of monster is he? F***ck me. The imaginary immortal dust sky could not help but curse. Then, he took a deep breath and looked at Chu Kuangren through the light screen. His eyes were filled with awe and curiosity. Where did such a monster come from? Could it be one of those orthodoxies? That can't be right. I know all the immortal seeds cultivated by those orthodoxies. There's no one like him. An immortal seed of unknown origin, it was too surprising. Inside the White Palace, Chu Kuangren walked in with his head held high. When Zi Yunfan, Jin Jia, Feng Feishuan, and the others saw Chu Kuangren, their faces turned grim when they sensed the domineering aura emanating from his body. I didn't expect him to really break the formation. And this pressure, it's no small matter. I'm afraid he isn't an ordinary Dao Lord. Since when did this immortal seed appear in the purple gold galaxy? Zi Yunfan and the others sensed a strong threat from Chu Kuangren that they had never felt before, and they were both shocked and suspicious. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren ignored all the immortal seeds and focused his attention on the white orb of light. The Daoist weapon fluctuations that he sensed were coming from that orb. Shao AI, analyze it. It's a Heaven Dao artifact. It's a defense-type artifact, and it can change its form according to its master's will. It has a certain growth potential, Heavenly Dao artifact. This was indeed rare. But, why is it a defensive type? There was a hint of disappointment in Chu Kuangren's eyes. He had the stellar immortal physique, which made his physical body extremely tough. Not many in the same realm as him could break through his defense. On top of that, he had an immortal body. This combination allowed him to completely ignore defense in battle. Compared to a defense-type Heaven Dao artifact, Chu Kuangren was more inclined towards an offense-type or support-type artifact since it would be more useful to him. Oh well, it's a Heaven Dao artifact after all. It'll give me an extra layer of protection, Chu Kuangren murmured as he walked towards the Heaven Dao artifact. If you want a Heaven Dao artifact, you'll have to ask for our permission first. A cold voice was heard. A muscular man appeared in front of Chu Kuangren. With a lift of his arm, a terrifying aura erupted as he threw a punch at Chu Kuangren. Boom! That punch landed on the ground and created a huge crater. If it were not for the fact that the Dust Sky Star was the abode of an illusory immortal and that the star was protected by an illusory immortal's power, that punch would have shattered the Dust Sky Star. Wait a minute. Landed on the ground? Where is he? The muscular man's eyes narrowed as he felt a sudden chill coming from behind him. His body immediately dashed away. However, he was one step too late. A ray of sword chi shot out and landed on his shoulder, creating a bloody hole. Chu Kuangren stood not far away from him with sword chi swirling around his fingertips. He looked at the crowd and said, "If I want to take this Dao artifact, I'll have to ask for your permission first." Then let me ask you, do you agree? As soon as he said that, a majestic domineering aura erupted with him as the purple ultimate emperor's chi swept out in all directions like a raging wave. Within a radius of a few hundred kilometers, the ground cracked and the landscape changed. All the immortal seeds that came into contact with the emperor's chi were pushed back a few hundred meters. How powerful! A minor Daolord's advanced stage cultivation base? A normal minor Daolord's advanced stage cultivation base can't destroy the dust sky star that's protected by an illusory immortal's power with just the emperor's chi alone. This guy is not simple. The immortal seeds looked at Chu Kuangren as if they were facing their greatest enemy. The muscular man who was injured by the sword chi took out a medicinal pill and swallowed it to suppress his injury. This guy's movement speed is a little strange. It doesn't look like a movement technique. It's more like, he disappeared in an instant. It's a spatial technique. Zi Yunfan said. A late-stage minor Daolord who specializes in spatial techniques? This is going to be troublesome. This is rare even among the immortal seeds. I won't let you have the ultimate Dao artifact. The golden star immortal seed Jianghu snorted. He took a step forward as a terrifying emperor's chi surged around his body. Amidst the Daoist patterns, a purplish-black staff appeared out of thin air. It was a great Daolord weapon. Jianghu held the great Daolord weapon and leaped into the air. Sky-shattering staff. The Daoist patterns intertwined as the emperor's chi converged to form a giant purplish-black staff shadow that smashed down at Chu Kuangren. This attack is quite powerful. Chu Kuangren squinted. That attack was no less powerful than an ordinary peak minor Daolord. Unfortunately, it's not enough. Chu Kuangren raised his arm and unleashed a punch. Just the power of his physical body alone was enough to set off a series of violent gales. Wherever the fist energy passed, the void would suddenly explode. That giant staff shadow was shattered with a single strike. Jianghu, on the other hand, was swept away by the fist energy and was sent flying. Compared to the time when he was on Firmament Star, Chu Kuangren had devoured many more planets in the past few months. His starlight immortal physique had become much stronger. He was one step closer to the peak level. Other things aside, his physical strength alone was enough to defeat an ordinary great Daolord, let alone Jianghu. What? How is this possible with such physical strength? The crowd was in disbelief. Apart from being an expert in spatial Dao, his physical body was also so strong. What kind of freak was he? This person's strength cannot be underestimated. Let's attack together. The burly man suggested. The crowd was a little hesitant at that. As immortal seeds, they had their own pride. If word got out that they were to team up against one person, it would not look good on them. However, it was impossible for them to give up on the ultimate Dao artifact. Come on, don't worry too much. Let's attack together. That way, you might have a chance to hurt me. Chu Kuangren smiled at the crowd. Zi Yunfan, Jianghu, Feng Feiyun, and the others' faces sank when they heard his provocative words. Aren't you underestimating us a little too much? We're all immortal seeds. You're overestimating yourself if you think you can take on so many of us by yourself. Chapter 839. It was an extreme provocation. Chu Kuangren had challenged all the celestial seeds on Dusty Star. His arrogant words made all the celestial seeds unhappy. Knowing that he was not easy to deal with, these prideful celestial seeds decided to team up for the first time in order to obtain the Dao weapon. Outside Dusty Star, the great cloudy formation had disappeared. All the cultivators were shocked by the shocking scene before them. Am I seeing this right? The celestial seeds are teaming up. Oh my God, these prideful celestial seeds are teaming up against one person. What kind of pressure is this person giving them? I can't imagine, this person is only 39 years old. During the White Jade Dragon Pillar test, this person was indeed 39 years old. But who can tell me whose sky pride is so powerful at 39 years old? Even if he's a celestial seed, it's impossible. Everyone was shocked by what they saw. They looked at Chu Kuangren with excitement. Some of them quickly took out their image recording stones to record the scene before them. If everything went as planned, Chu Kuangren's name would spread throughout the purple-gold galaxy regardless of whether he won or lost. After all, not everyone could make the celestial seeds team up. Moreover, he was a 39-year-old cultivator. Inside Dusty Star, Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back, facing the celestial seeds in front of him. Go! Feng Feiyun was the first to attack. He was a celestial seed that specialized in sword Dao. The moment he unsheathed his long sword, a dazzling sword ray bloomed and turned into a torrential torrent of sword chi that surged towards Chu Kuangren. In terms of swordsmanship, you're still lacking. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He did not unsheath the descendant self-sword at his waist. Instead, he condensed a sword chi at his fingertip and unleashed a purple sword shadow. Heaven-slaying sword drawing technique. The sword ray shattered the torrent, forcing Feng Feiyun to retreat. On the other side, Cruel Jean had already arrived in front of Chu Kuangren with his staff in his hand. He waved his staff and thousands of staff shadows appeared. Chu Kuangren reached out his hand and accurately grabbed onto the staff. His physical strength exploded. Cruel Jin's body was involuntarily thrown out. Star-picking finger. At this moment, the purple cloud's sail converged the starlight that filled the sky and turned into a giant finger. With a single point, it seemed as if the stars would collapse. That attack reminded Chu Kuangren of Zi Wuheng in the past. The other party also had a similar profundity. Zi Wuhen and Zi Yunfan were both from Purple Star, so it was reasonable that the Dao and secret arts they cultivated were somewhat similar. With a single thought, myriad deity tribulation fire lotus. Chu Kuangren channeled his mind power and an endless stream of flames converged towards him. A golden red fire lotus suddenly erupted. The finger shadow shattered. The flames surged out and smashed into Zi Yunfan's body, burning several holes in his gorgeous purple robes. Damn it, this power is psychic power? Why is this guy's cultivation technique so heterogeneous? Zi Yunfan was puzzled. Most cultivators focused on a single path. Even if it was an immortal seed, it was the same. Only by concentrating all of one's energy on one path would one be able to cultivate it into the celestial Dao. Even so, very few celestial seeds would succeed. However, Chu Kuangren had learned so many things. How could he focus on cultivating to become an immortal? Zi Yunfan was not the only one who was puzzled. The other celestial seeds were also overwhelmed by Chu Kuangren's endless but different cultivation techniques. They could not get used to it at all. Physical body, Emperor's Qi, mind power, spatial Dao, Chu Kuangren was proficient in all of them. Myriad Daoist avatar. Emperor's Qi circulated around Chu Kuangren's body, and in an instant, an extremely violent Daoist fluctuation spread out. A gigantic colorful avatar formed out of thin air, and the myriad Daoist avatar flowed endlessly, its power shocking the entire starry sky. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw that avatar. What kind of weird avatar is this? Sword Dao, Flame Dao, Light Dao. So many different types of energy converge, and they all seem to be Daoist physique fluctuations? What is this? A hodgepodge of Daoist physiques? Everyone was dumbfounded. It was their first time seeing such a cultivation technique. It would be fine if Chu Kuangren knew a little of everything, but the problem was that every Dao he used was terrifyingly powerful. It was as if every Dao he specialized in was his own Dao. Heavenly Waterfall Strike. The female cultivator Immortal Seed, who was surrounded by a faint blue glow, raised her hand and gathered her Emperor's Qi Daoist patterns, which then turned into a gigantic waterfall that smashed towards Chu Kuangren. However, the myriad Daoist avatar simply unleashed a punch. Amidst the explosion, the waterfall shattered. The violent impact sent the female cultivator flying, spewing blood. What a powerful avatar. Humph, do you think you're the only one with an avatar? The burly man who was previously sent flying by Chu Kuangren's sword chi stood up and snorted. The Emperor's chi on his body surged and combined with the Daoist patterns to form a gigantic human figure clad in golden armor and wielding a giant sword. The golden avatar was like a majestic general. "Have a taste of my golden armored warrior's power," the burly man roared. The immortal seed's eyes lit up at that. "That's the golden armored Daoist sect's golden armored warrior. What a powerful fluctuation." The golden armored Daoist sect is indeed one of the most ancient orthodoxies in the purple gold galaxy. It's truly extraordinary. Even the Purple Star and Golden Star immortal civilization might not be able to find an avatar cultivation technique like this. Facing the golden armored warrior's charge, Chu Kuangren merely smiled without saying a word. Behind him, the myriad Daoist avatar took a step forward. Dozens of Daoist fluctuations converged. Just one Dao, and Chu Kuangren was already extraordinary. How terrifying would the explosive power of these dozens of Daoists be? The myriad Daoist avatar unleashed a punch, and a colorful light sphere condensed. Within that light sphere, light and darkness intertwined, chaos and heaven and earth collided, flames and frost fused, and all sorts of transformations. The punch landed on the golden armored warrior's body. The light sphere exploded. All sorts of Daoist fluctuations swept out. In the void, dazzling lights flickered continuously, accompanied by a suffocating Daoist aura. The golden armored warrior was shattered. The burly man's pupils shrank when he felt the impact. He spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying, smashing through a mountain before being buried by rocks and soil. As for Zi Yunfan, Feng Feiyun, and the other immortal seeds, they did not fare too well either. As the power of that punch spread, the immortal seeds tried their best to resist it. However, they were still blasted away, and each of them was injured. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, stood motionless. The myriad Daoist avatar towered behind him, giving the immortal seeds a sense of superiority. They had never felt such a sense of oppression even when facing a top-notch great Dao master. Yet now, they felt it from Chu Kuangren. Outside the dusty sky star, the crowd no longer knew how to describe their shock. "He's too strong, too strong. Yeah, such power is definitely at the level of a great Dao master. This guy's cultivation base is at the minor Daoist realm, but he can unleash the combat strength of a great Dao master without using an immortal technique. Such power is rare even among the immortal seeds. I guess only the top 3 sequence cultivators of the Purple Star and Golden Star realm are capable of this. The most important thing is that he's only 39 years old. Even a sequence cultivator can't compare to such talent." Exclamations of shock were heard one after another. Even the dusty sky immortal, who had been observing from behind the scenes, could not help but be shocked. His expression was extremely solemn. This guy has the poise of an immortal. Chapter 840. On Dust Star. Chu Kuangren was facing off against a group of immortal seeds all by himself. 10,000 Dharma idols, suppressing everyone. Everyone, give it your all. This battle isn't just for the Dao artifact, it's also for the face of the immortal seed. If we lose, what face would we have left? Zi Yunfan said solemnly. Hearing this, the others nodded. Following that, powerful auras emanated from their bodies. Mysterious Dao ripples instantly enveloped the entire Dutian star. Chu Kuangren was intrigued. Oh, an immortal technique. These immortal seeds were executing immortal spells. Come, let me see your strongest power. Chu Kuangren was instantly filled with pride. Then, the 10,000 Daos behind him dissipated. Everyone couldn't help but be surprised and bewildered when they saw this. Why did he suddenly disperse his Dharma form? Did he give up resisting? Just as everyone was puzzled, an incredibly terrifying surge of sword pressure erupted from Chu Kuangren's body and swept out in all directions. The enormous sword pressure shocked everyone present. Immortal magic. It's an immortal art fluctuation. This person is planning to use immortal techniques against immortal techniques. Very good, let's see what kind of celestial art he has mastered. The immortal seeds focused their gazes and pushed their emperor Qi to the limit. Dao patterns interweaved, and celestial techniques shone out. Star River Destruction. The purple cloudy sail converged the starlight that filled the sky and formed a vast galaxy that stretched for tens of thousands of miles before it crashed towards Chu Kuangren. Water resonating art, water splendor sky. The blue-robed female cultivator's body surged with the power of water. The water roared and the light of the water flowed, brewing a violent wave of power. 9 Nether Fire Wind Technique. Jin Jie's body emitted a strange netherworld fluctuation. Black smoke spread out from his body and turned into flames that burned the heaven and earth. The flames converged and turned into a huge black pillar of fire that shot out. Soaring Dragon Sword Qi. The Emperor Qi in Feng Feiyun's body turned into Sword Qi, and the Sword Qi turned into the shape of a dragon. The domineering might of the dragon-shaped Sword Qi covered the sky. Dragon-shaped Sword Qi whizzed out, tearing the void apart. Several types of immortal techniques charged towards Chu Kuangren at the same time. Even a great Dao Lord would find it hard to endure this attack. The entire dusty star was shaken. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, stood where he was without moving. He was as steady as Mount Tai, and his qi was as still as the abyss. His sword pressure swept across the entire area. Sovereign Sword Technique, sole ruler of the universe. Chu Kuangren yelled indifferently. Behind him, a golden Emperor Dharma form was formed. There were several rays of golden sword qi in the palm of the Dharma form. Then, the sword qi swept out. Golden sword energy was peerlessly domineering, shocking heaven and earth. It powerfully hacked towards the immortal techniques released by the great immortal seeds, producing the most intense collision. The shock waves were like raging waves crashing against the shore, crazily smashing the void. The entire dusty star seemed to be on the verge of shattering. In the palace suspended in the clouds, the virtual immortal Chen Tian frowned. These fellas sure are causing a huge ruckus. Are they trying to tear down this old man's home? As soon as he finished speaking, a white aura spread out. The aura enveloped the entire dust sky star, dissipating the impact of the celestial arts clashing. It stabilized the dust sky star, not allowing it to be destroyed. This was the power of a hollow immortal. Everyone sensed that a false immortal had taken action, and they couldn't help but feel shocked. However, they immediately looked towards the center of the battlefield. They wanted to see what the outcome of this battle would be. A clash between celestial techniques. Who would be the stronger one? After that round of impact, the surroundings fell into a violent turbulence. Billowing smoke and dust shrouded the White Palace, making it difficult to see what was going on inside. Even if they wanted to use their emperor's thought to observe, they would be affected by the fluctuations of the celestial arts. After a long while, the smoke and dust dissipated, and the fluctuations of the celestial arts retracted. Everyone looked expectantly, but their eyes could not help but narrow. The scene in front of them shocked them. With the White Palace as the center, the ground within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers was already full of potholes, as if it had been ravaged by natural disasters. This was the result of the protection of the hollow immortal's power. If not for it, the dust sky star would have turned into cosmic dust. Such a huge destructive power was shocking. However, that was not the most shocking thing. What made everyone dumbfounded was that in the White Palace, there was a figure standing in the wind. His eyes were filled with disdain as if he was looking down on the world. Not far away from him, the celestial seeds were lying on the ground, each of them severely injured. Some of them had disheveled hair, while others had bloodied faces. Some of the celestial seeds even had their arms broken, their faces pale. The celestial seeds were in a sorry state. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren was still standing there, unscathed. The scene before them was just too glaring. The celestial seeds, lost. They joined forces, but they still lost to a single person. Oh my God, where did this person come from? His strength is just too terrifying. This is definitely a top-notch celestial seed. The cultivators gulped, their hearts pounding. Meanwhile, the Sky Prides and Celestial Seeds stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. They had lost. Not only that, but they had also joined forces with the other Celestial Seeds. They would not even have dared to imagine such a thing in the past. Regardless of how shocked the crowd was, Chu Kuangren did not care. He walked up to the supreme Daoist weapon and grabbed it. However, when he grabbed the white orb, he felt a wave of resistance. This supreme Daoist weapon had a spirit of its own, and it would not submit to anyone easily. Sensing the resistance, Chu Kuangren sneered, and the Emperor's qi within his body surged out like a raging wave, crashing against the Daoist weapon. Submit to me. Not long after, the resistance gradually disappeared. Chu Kuangren commanded in his mind. The white orb landed on his body and turned into a luxurious white wide-sleeved robe. Its Daoist patterns intertwined with each other and radiated brilliance. A defensive Daoist weapon. Judging from the fluctuations, it's at least a heavenly Daoist weapon. The Celestial Seed stared at the luxurious robe on Chu Kuangren with fiery eyes. Heavenly Daoist weapons were rare. This was especially true for a defensive heavenly Daoist weapon. For cultivators below the Heavenly Lord realm, it was a life-saving treasure. Even the Celestial Seeds present did not have such a good item. I can't believe the Daoist weapon refined by the Heavenly Dust Immortal is such a good item. How surprising. D***MN it. It's such a shame that this item has fallen into someone else's hands. The Celestial Seeds were filled with regret. The Daoist weapon has an owner. Young friend, can we talk inside? As for the others, you may return. A voice came from the palace above the clouds. It was the Heavenly Dust Immortal inviting Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren did not reject the invitation. Then I shall take my leave. He was about to enter the palace. Hold it right there. At that moment, Zi Yunfan called out to him from behind. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. Do you still want to fight? No, tell me your name. Zi Yunfan said solemnly. Not only him, but the other Celestial Seeds were also looking at him. A group of Celestial Seeds had joined forces, yet they were defeated by a single person. If they did not even know his name, it would be a joke. My name, Chu Kuangren chuckled. Then, he lifted his foot and stomped on the ground. A huge surge of Emperor's qi spread out with him as the center and swept in all directions. To avoid the Emperor's qi, the Celestial Seeds leaped into the air and looked at Chu Kuangren, puzzled. Look at the ground. Suddenly, one of the Celestial Seeds exclaimed. Under Chu Kuangren's Emperor's qi, the terrain within 100-kilometer radius, including the mountains and ridges, changed, forming 3 magnificent words. Chu Kuangren. Using the ground as paper and the Emperor's qi as ink, Chu Kuangren carved his name. Chapter 841. Chu Kuangren, looking at the 3 words on the ground that spanned 100 miles, everyone could only feel an incomparably arrogant aura. Everyone's pupils shrank slightly as they memorized the name. After Chu Kuangren left his name, he turned and left. Chu Kuangren, I'll remember this name. This person will definitely be one of my biggest opponents in the immortal path. I'm not strong enough yet. That opportunity of fortune is about to appear. Not only the purple gold galaxy, but other galaxies will also be affected. There will be more immortal seeds in the future, so I can't slack off. When I return, I must train hard. There are countless opportunities of fortune in the vast universe. Before that great opportunity of fortune appears, I must quickly find other opportunities of fortune to improve my strength. The immortal seeds each had their own thoughts as they left one by one. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren leaped into the air and flew towards the firmament palace. He entered the palace. In front of Chu Kuangren was a white-haired old man. The old man had white hair and a beard. He sat on a futon in the palace, and his aura was ethereal as if he was one with the void. This person was the imaginary immortal of Mortal Sky. Greetings, Senior Mortal Sky. Chu Kuangren did not dare to be presumptuous in front of a imaginary immortal. He put away his arrogance and bowed as he analyzed the other's information. Even an imaginary immortal could not stop Xiao AI from analyzing. Soon, information about the imaginary immortal of Mortal Sky appeared. While Chu Kuangren was analyzing the other's information, the imaginary immortal was also observing him with a look of surprise. Unlike Chu Kuangren, the imaginary immortal of Mortal Sky did not have a cheat like the spirit of omniscience, so he could only rely on some cultivation techniques to observe. However, he still felt that there were many mysteries about Chu Kuangren that he could not see through. The more he looked, the more doubts he had. "You're welcome, little friend. Come, have a seat." The imaginary immortal of Mortal Sky simply stopped looking. With a wave of his sleeve, a futon appeared in front of him, and he gestured for Chu Kuangren to sit down. Chu Kuangren did not hesitate and sat in front of him. "Where did you come from, little friend?" "Firmament Star." "Firmament Star. I remember it. It seems to be at the edge of the purple gold galaxy, and it's currently at war with the Blood Source Star." The imaginary immortal of Mortal Sky had traveled the entire galaxy before, so he had some recollection of the Firmament Star. "Heh, it's already over." Chu Kuangren laughed. The Firmament Star is also an advanced cultivation civilization, but it's still a distance away from being an immortal cultivation civilization. "I didn't expect someone like you to appear here." "What a surprise." The void immortal Mortal Heaven sighed. The two of them talked for a while. Following that, the Dust Heaven illusionary immortal asked Chu Kuangren about formation techniques. Both of them were experts in the Tao of formations. After a short exchange, they vaguely felt a sense of appreciation for each other. Especially the hollow immortal Chen Tian. He vaguely felt that the hollow immortal Chen Tian's attainment in the Tao of formations was much higher than his. "By the way, young friend Chu, what do you think of this Tao artifact?" Mortal Sky Void Immortal asked. Chu Kuangren glanced at the gorgeous white robe on his body and chuckled. "Very good. To be able to combine the purple gold and the peaceful sky white sand so perfectly, knead them into thin threads, and weave them into clothes, what a good technique." Hearing this, the virtual immortal of Mortal Heaven was shocked. "Little friend Chu, you also know how to forge tools?" "A little." Chu Kuangren laughed. "Huh, in that case, I'll have to ask for some advice from you." Then, the two of them began to discuss the craft of equipment. During this process, the virtual immortal of Mortal Heaven even brought Chu Kuangren to his specialized equipment crafting place to let him practice. When he saw Chu Kuangren's equipment crafting method, his eyes widened like a bell. "A little? This is more like 100 million points." Just like that, Chu Kuangren was treated as a VIP by the virtual immortal of Mortal Heaven. The two of them often gathered together to discuss formation techniques and equipment crafting. Chu Kuangren would also occasionally discuss with him. As a hollow immortal, the virtual immortal of Mortal Heaven's cultivation was extremely high. Discussing with him was very beneficial to Chu Kuangren. On this day, Chu Kuangren saw the virtual immortal of Mortal Heaven reading a book. He went over to take a look. It was a book that recorded runes. "Oh, Senior Mortal Heaven, are you studying runes?" "Yes." The virtual immortal of Mortal Heaven nodded. "I've reached the peak of this galaxy in terms of equipment crafting and formation techniques, so I plan to study runes." "Runes. If you don't mind, I'd like to take a look at this book. I wonder if you'll let me borrow it after you're done." Chu Kuangren said. He also wanted to see the runic Tao of other civilizations. It might be helpful for the development of Firmament Star. "Oh, Brother Chu, you know about runes?" "A little." Chu Kuangren smiled. With a lift of his arm, the Divine Nine Dragons talisman was activated. Huge colorful runes covered half of the sky above Mortal Heaven's star. The 9 dragon-shaped runes were surrounded by spiritual chi, and their domineering aura shook the heavens and earth. The virtual immortal of Mortal Heaven's mouth twitched. Just by looking at the power of those runes, one could tell that they were not simple. Moreover, he could not understand the runes that were contained within them. F***ck you're knowing a little exclamation point. You know everything. What's wrong with your brain? The virtual immortal of mortal heaven did not know what to say. Then, his eyes lit up. I've been studying runes recently. Since Brother Chu knows about runes, I wonder if you could give me a pointer or two. The virtual immortal of mortal heaven did not put on airs at all. Instead, he looked like he was humbly asking for advice. Since Chu Kuangren also wanted to use this opportunity to study the runes of other civilizations, he naturally did not refuse. Time passed. Chu Kuangren stayed on mortal heaven's star for half a year. In that half a year, he spent time with the virtual immortal of mortal heaven, studying the runes of equipment refinement formations and discussing Taoism. Divine Nine Dragons Transformation, appear. Chu Kuangren activated the runes. As the 9 dragon-shaped chi entered his body, his aura began to rise, and he vaguely reached the realm of a great Daoist master. Beside him, the virtual immortal of mortal heaven was amazed. This Daoist talisman is enough to make 99% of the talisman experts in the purple gold galaxy feel ashamed. In the past half a year, Chu Kuangren had used his strong learning ability to integrate the ancient rune books that the virtual immortal of mortal heaven had collected. He also perfected the Divine Nine Dragons Transformation Talisman, making it more powerful than before. Disperse. Chu Kuangren dispersed the effects of the Divine Nine Dragons Transformation Talisman. Then, he turned to the virtual immortal of mortal heaven who was not far away and said, "Senior, I've been chatting for half a year. It's about time for me to leave." The virtual immortal of mortal heaven stopped in his tracks and nodded slightly. "I know I can't make you stay. Here's something, take it." He took out a green jade token. The words, "Mortal Heaven," were engraved on the jade token. "I've given out countless Daoist weapons in my life, and many people owe me favors. If you carry this Mortal Heaven jade token with you, people will know that you and I are close. Those who owe me favors will also help you when the time is right," the virtual immortal of mortal heaven said. "This is too valuable," Chu Kuangren said solemnly. This Mortal Heaven jade token meant that the network that the virtual immortal of mortal heaven had spent countless years to weave would be at his service. He would have an incomparably powerful force out of thin air. With this force, even the immortal civilization would not dare to touch him. "No, you deserve this." The virtual immortal of mortal heaven said solemnly, "All these years, I've been making friends with sky prides, all for the sake of finding someone who can become an immortal in the future, and you may very well be that person." Chapter 842. An illusory immortal, an illusory immortal. They could see the glory of the immortal Tao, but they could never step into it. This was a great sorrow. Some people led a befuddled life, passing their days in misery. Some people were not willing to give up and went into seclusion in an attempt to become immortals. There were also people who fell into madness, living a life worse than death. As for the hollow immortal of the mortal sky realm, he focused his energy on other things, such as setting up formations and forging artifacts. He used this to distract himself from the sadness of not being able to become an immortal. He understood. Since he couldn't become an immortal himself, he would help others to become immortals and befriend future immortals. That might not be a bad choice. In fact, there was even a kind of anticipation in his heart. Perhaps after others become immortals, they could help him become immortals. Of course, this possibility was so minuscule that it could be ignored. "Young friend Chu, you are only a few decades old, but your potential is almost unimaginable. Even the immortal seeds cultivated by the purple star, Venus, and those ancient orthodoxies are inferior to you. You have a high chance of becoming an immortal. Take this heavenly dust jade medallion. Consider it as me giving you a helping hand. I hope you can prove your Tao and become an immortal soon." Upon hearing the illusionary immortal dust sky's words, Chu Kuangren pondered for a while before he solemnly accepted the jade token and hung it on his waist. "If I become an immortal in the future, I will repay you," Chu Kuangren promised. The void immortal mortal heaven laughed, "All right, I'll be waiting." Boom, boom, at that moment, a strange energy fluctuation came from afar. Chu Kuangren and the Dust Heaven illusionary immortals sensed it and looked into the depths of the universe. This fluctuation, could it be that some sort of fortuitous encounter has appeared? Could it be, the void immortal of the mortal heaven void immortal's mind moved? His monarch will surged out and converged with the others in the boundless universe. He soon discovered the source of the energy fluctuations. So it's just the appearance of an ancient inheritance star. I had thought that it was the appearance of a ruined immortal world. Chen Tian void immortal said. Ancient star of inheritance? Broken immortal world? Chu Kuangren's eyes were filled with curiosity. Hollow immortal Chen Tian saw this and smiled. This is what I was going to tell you. It is closely related to your ascension. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren's expression turned serious. Young friend, have you ever heard of the immortal realm? The immortal realm? Chu Kuangren pondered. Yes, according to legend, a long time ago, there was a world in the universe where immortals lived, and that was the immortal dimension. Later, because of a great war, the celestial world was shattered into countless fragments. Those fragments became known as the broken celestial world. A few years ago, a mighty figure who was good at divination once predicted that a fragmented immortal realm would appear near the purple gold galaxy in the near future. It is very likely that there is a chance of becoming an immortal in there. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up when he heard that. It was extremely difficult to become an immortal. The two great civilizations of the purple gold galaxy had nurtured so many immortal seeds, but not a single one had succeeded in becoming an immortal. If he had the help of a fortuitous encounter, his chances would greatly increase. That energy fluctuation just now that's not the appearance of the broken immortal world. It's an ancient legacy planet. Ancient legacy planets are places of legacy left behind by ancient experts. There are all sorts of opportunities inside. Although they can't compare to the broken immortal world, they are still extremely rare. The appearance of this ancient legacy planet will attract many cultivators. Even the immortal seed will appear. You can go take a look. Mortal Sky Void Immortal said. Chu Kuangren nodded. I will be there. After that, he left the dusty sky planet. Looking at Chu Kuangren's back as he left, Mortal Sky Void Immortal's eyes were filled with anticipation. Junior Chu, I look forward to your future. The news of the ancient legacy planet's appearance spread throughout the entire purple gold galaxy. Many cultivators were alerted by the news. In the universe, a purplish-red planet floated in the air, surrounded by red mist. Battleships arrived from all directions. Countless cultivators looked at the purplish-red planet with fiery eyes, eager to give it a try. These people came from various forces in the purple gold galaxy. If I'm not mistaken, this is the Purple Blood Planet, the former residence of the purplish-red illusory immortal, an old man said. The purplish-red illusory immortal was also one of the famous illusory immortals in the purple gold galaxy. However, rumor has it that he went to other galaxies in search of a way to become an immortal. I didn't expect him to leave behind an ancient legacy planet. It's a blessing for the younger generation. Another Daoist master said. It's only an illusory immortal's ancient legacy planet. There's no need for us to join in. Let our respective sky prides go in. That's fine. Let's just treat it as a preview of the broken immortal world's appearance. We can also take this opportunity to see which sky prides have appeared recently. When sky prides fight, life and death will depend on their own abilities. The top powerhouses of the various forces made an agreement. On a battleship. A cold-looking young man with 3 long swords on his back looked at the purple blood planet and said indifferently, the illusory immortal's inheritance might contain many good things. The broken immortal world's appearance is imminent. Let's use this opportunity to polish our sword wills. He slowly stood up, and a shocking sword pressure erupted. Within this sword pressure, there were actually 3 different sword wills. They were as hot as the sun, cold as the moon, and bright as the stars. On the other side, in the Purple Star Civilization's camp, A white-robed man stood in midair. As he breathed, the surrounding starlight was absorbed into his body. His entire body emanated a majestic pressure. The man looked at the purple blood planet with an eager gaze. I must obtain the illusory immortal's inheritance. Next to him, an old man glanced at him and praised, Your Highness, your 7-star god technique has been cultivated to the 6th level. In the entire purple gold galaxy, other than a few deity seeds, no one can be compared to you. This illusory immortal's inheritance will definitely be yours. Of course. The white-robed man smiled confidently and flew toward the purple blood planet. In space. A woman with a curvaceous figure and exquisite features in a blue Daoist robe sat cross-legged. Her body was glowing with a pale blue light. The illusory immortal's inheritance has attracted many people. I wonder how many among them can make me go all out. The woman stood up. A pale blue light engulfed the area. A small planet near her exploded on the spot and turned into cosmic dust. Various sky prides flew toward the purple blood planet to fight for the inheritance. A battle of the universe's sky prides was about to begin. Surrounded by battleships. A white stream of light also flew toward the purple blood planet. Everyone focused their eyes. That person was dressed in a luxurious white robe with a beautiful white jade sword hanging at his waist. He was so handsome that no one in the entire galaxy could match him. Who is this person? An unfamiliar sky pride. What a familiar face. I think he's the one who single-handedly fought against the deity seeds in the ancient dusty sky star half a year ago. It's him. Everyone could not help but be surprised. Should we stop this person from entering? One of the Daoist masters said. Chu Kuangren's arrival would definitely threaten the other deity seeds, and that was not something that everyone was happy to see. Wait, look at his waist. Suddenly, someone exclaimed. They saw a green jade token hanging from Chu Kuangren's waist. On it were the words, Dusty Sky, and a faint illusory immortal's power surrounded it. The Dusty Sky Jade Token. This person belongs to the Dusty Sky Illusionary Immortal. Seeing the Jade Token is like seeing the illusory immortal. What's his relationship with the Dusty Sky Illusionary Immortal? Let him enter. He's alone, so he might not be a threat to the deity seeds. It's best not to offend the Dusty Sky Illusionary Immortal. Chapter 843. A pseudo-immortal was still a huge deterrent in a galaxy. At least, even immortal civilizations like Purple Star and Venus did not have many pseudo-immortals. More importantly, the Mortal Sky pseudo-immortal was no ordinary pseudo-immortal. He was an expert in both techniques and formations, and he had received countless favors from others. That was a force that should not be underestimated. Chu Kuangren was protected by the Dusty Sky Jade Token, so the civilizations outside of Purple Blood Planet would not dare to attack him. Inside Purple Blood Planet. This place was not much different from other planets. The only difference was that this planet was protected by a pseudo-immortal's power. That made Purple Blood Planet very difficult to destroy. Only a few masters of the Tao of Heaven could achieve such a feat. Treasure locating skill, activate. Upon arriving at Purple Blood Planet, Chu Kuangren immediately activated his treasure locating skill. Messages of various treasures were sent to him. At his level, ordinary treasures were no longer of much use to him. Only some Daoist treasures would be useful to him. Chu Kuangren used his treasure locating skill to search Purple Blood Planet for 3 days. Along the way, he found many high-level Daoist medicines. He even found 2 Daoist weapons. He immediately threw them into his yin and yang ring. This yin and yang ring was extremely spacious. Since it was reforged by him, it was not any weaker than the previous one. In those 3 days, he also met some sky prides and other cultivators. Unfortunately, they posed no threat to him at all. Boom! On this day, Chu Kuangren had just finished harvesting a Daoist medicine. Suddenly, there was a violent energy disturbance nearby. The ground shook as if something was approaching him. This disturbance, Chu Kuangren looked towards the source of the noise. He saw a huge black ape approaching him. A beast. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. The black ape was hundreds of meters tall, like a mountain. As it ran, the ground shook and the ferocious chi surged. However, the ape had suffered many injuries. Its body was drenched in blood, and it was still holding a golden crystal in its hand. Behind it, a group of human cultivators was chasing after it. That's a Daoist source. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. If crystals such as spirit marrows and spirit crystals were used to increase one's cultivation level, then a Daoist source was used to increase one's understanding of the Tao. Chu Kuangren could clearly feel that the Daoist source in the black ape's hand was about 10 feet tall and weighed at least 1,000 kilograms. Moreover, the qi of the Tao contained within it was extremely dense. Countless mysterious golden Tao patterns appeared on its surface. Get out of my way. The black ape noticed that Chu Kuangren was standing in his path, so he roared and threw a punch at him. A terrifying demonic aura gushed out like a mountain torrent. Humph, little monkey, your path is too narrow. Chu Kuangren let out a light snort, and a cold ray of light shot out from his eyes. He didn't seem to do anything, but he gently raised his hand. Bang! One was huge, one was small. The two fists collided. A fierce gust of wind swept through the surroundings. Immediately after, the black ape's arm exploded inch by inch. Its flesh and bones exploded on the spot, and its entire arm was blasted into a rain of blood. Ah! With a scream, the black ape stumbled a few steps back. Its gigantic body fell to the ground like a mountain as it stared at Chu Kuangren in horror. Even a peak Empyrean would not be able to withstand a single punch from him. But this person in front of him could easily shatter his arm. Tao Lord. This person in front of him was definitely a Daoist master. The black ape's face was filled with horror as he quickly handed the Daoist essence in his hand to Chu Kuangren. The Daoist essence is yours. Please spare my life. He knelt on the ground and trembled. This Daoist essence is ours. At that moment, the group of human cultivators who had chased after the ape had also arrived at the scene. They looked at Chu Kuangren with cold eyes. Oh, your names are written on it? Chu Kuangren sat on the Daoist essence and looked at the group of cultivators before him playfully. Hand over the Daoist essence, and the purple star sect will pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, bear the consequences. The leader of the human cultivators said coldly. Chu Kuangren became even more playful when he heard that. It was the purple star sect again. If you want it, why don't you give it a try? Chu Kuangren chuckled. Senior brother, why waste your breath on him? Watch me slaughter him. A muscular man smiled cruelly and flew towards Chu Kuangren. With a punch, a black gust of wind swept out. A grain of sand in the Ganges River, a scale in the vast ocean. You're so small, yet you don't know it. Chu Kuangren's gaze was cold as he said softly. Chu Kuangren stood still as a purple sword ray shot out from his fingertips. Pfft! A mist of blood exploded in the air. The sword ray tore through the gust of wind and sliced the muscular man in half. The crowd could not help but gulp when they saw that. Terrifying. Although that muscular man's cultivation level was not the strongest among them, he was still an upper heavenly honorable. Yet, he was killed so easily. They looked at the trembling black ape who was kneeling on the ground. The ape had lost an arm and was bleeding profusely. Daoist Master. That was the name that popped into everyone's mind. That young man in white was the Daoist Master. Let's go. The leader of the human cultivators left without another word. They had no chance of winning against a Daoist master. All of you, go and find some fun for me. Chu Kuangren looked at his retreating figure and did not attack. Killing a few ants was nothing to him. He hoped that these ants could bring him some fun. For example, the purple star immortal seeds. Master, can I leave now? The black ape knelt on the ground and asked in a trembling voice. Chu Kuangren waved his hand. Get lost. Thank you, master. Thank you. The black ape was overjoyed and quickly kowtowed. When he lowered his head, a hint of hatred flashed across his eyes. He thought that he had hidden it well. However, it did not escape Chu Kuangren's eyes. Perhaps you can bring me some fun too. Chu Kuangren looked at the black ape and smiled. However, the ape did not understand. He did not dare to stay any longer and quickly crawled away, afraid that Chu Kuangren would change his mind. Human, just you wait. The Black Gale ape tribe has never suffered such humiliation. Wait till I return and report this to the young master. He'll teach you a lesson. This Daoist source is not bad. I'll absorb it now. Chu Kuangren thought and began to refine the Daoist source. With the universal cauldron physique, Chu Kuangren's efficiency in absorbing and refining resources was very fast. In less than half a day, the 1,000-kilogram Daoist source that would normally take a Daoist master a year and a half was completely refined by him. Then, his emperor's thought surged as he continued to search for opportunities of fortune. Originally, it would be easy for his emperor's thought to cover the entire Purple Blood planet. However, due to the influence of his pseudo-immortal power, his emperor's thought could only cover a few 100,000 kilometers at most. Another 2 days passed. On this day, the originally peaceful Purple Blood planet suddenly erupted with a powerful energy wave. A purple-red beam of light shot into the sky. Everyone on the Purple Blood planet saw that beam of light. And within that beam of light, were countless treasures. That was right. There were treasures within that beam of light. It was not just one or two, but a whole bunch of them. Daoist supreme elixirs, Dao weapons, rare minerals, Daoist sources, and so on. The Purple Blood planet cultivators could not help but feel excited when they saw the beam of light. So many treasures. Quick, let's go to the beam of light. Everyone, let's hurry to the beam of light. We can't let anyone else get there first. At that moment, the cultivators on the Purple Blood planet were like a pack of hungry wolves that had spotted a fat sheep. Everyone rushed to the beam of light. Chapter 844. The light pillar shot into the sky and the treasures circled around. And beneath the pillar of light was a magnificent palace. Written on the palace was Violet Blood Dao Palace. These treasures came from the eruption. When the cultivators arrived and saw this scene, they couldn't help but be shocked. Wow, all these treasures actually came from this Holy Ji Palace. What treasures are there in this Holy Ji Palace? This is definitely the greatest opportunity left behind by the Purple Blood Virtual Immortal. It must be. Let's go in and take a look. However, just as some of the cultivators were about to move, for blood-red rays of light flew out from the Dao Palace and turned into 4 strange figures covered in blood-red robes and masks. After the 4 figures rushed out, they each held a blood-red longsword in their hands and killed the cultivators who attempted to approach the palace. Their attacks were merciless and overbearing. If you want to enter the palace, defeat the 4 blood guards first. An indifferent voice came from the Dao Palace. Is it the Purple Blood Virtual Immortal? No, the Purple Blood Virtual Immortal has already left the Purple Gold Galaxy. This should just be a thought left behind by him. Everyone's expressions changed as they looked at the 4 blood guards with serious expressions. From the brief attack earlier, they could tell that the 4 blood guards were extremely powerful. A single blood guard was no weaker than an ordinary Dao Master. Not to mention 4 blood guards. This test is not something we can pass. Let's focus on getting the treasures in the light pillar first. That's right. Everyone stopped thinking about the treasures in the Dao Palace and turned to look at the light pillar. However, at this moment, several streams of light flew over. These treasures are mine. No one is allowed to covet them. A domineering voice was heard. A man in a white robe flew over with starlight flowing around his body. Behind him were a few young cultivators with extraordinary auras. It's him. Purple Star 3rd Sequence. Z Feng. It's not just the 3rd sequence. There's also the 7th sequence Si Jing Feng, the 8th sequence Si Yun Fan, the 9th sequence Si Han. The arrival of the purple star sequence made everyone feel pressured. Each sequence was equivalent to an immortal seed. A single immortal seed was enough to suppress everyone, let alone 4 sequences and a high-level immortal seed like the 3rd sequence. In Purple Star, the higher one's rank was, the more tyrannical their strength and talent would be. The 3rd rank was already the top immortal seed in the Purple Gold Galaxy. Even if he's Purple Star's 3rd rank, it's too overbearing of him to take all the treasures for himself. That's because he's strong. Damn it, everyone was indignant. However, he was powerless against the pressure of a few immortal seeds. At this moment, a loud laugh came from the horizon. If you want the treasure, you'll have to ask me first. A man shrouded in golden light flew over. There were also a few golden lights behind him, and a domineering pressure swept across the entire area. It's the Venus sequence. Venus 3rd rank Jean Fei, 6th rank Jean Hua, 9th rank Jean Cruel, and 10th rank Jean Jianni. Someone recognized the newcomer. In the Purple Gold Star system, the 2 great immortal method civilizations' immortal seeds arrived, opposing each other with equal harshness. Boundless might contended against each other. Everyone present could not help but swallow their saliva. Before he could recover from his shock, several more immortal seeds arrived. A woman in a blue dress with a slender figure and a watery glow around her body swept out like a raging wave, slapping the void. The immortal seed of Weak Water Palace. Wuxia Xianxia. Someone recognized the woman. Then, a massive sword pressure erupted on the other side. A young man with 3 swords on his back and the sun, moon, and stars above his head slowly walked over. Next to the young man was another young man with an iron sword on his back. The Imperial Heaven Sword Sect's immortal seed, Sword Tri-Ultimate. And Feng Feiyan. The only 2 immortal seeds of the Imperial Heaven Sword Sect are here too. Roar. At this moment, a long roar was heard. A gust of demonic chi turned into a black storm and swept over. In the distance, a black ape walked over. It's the Black Wind Ape tribe's immortal seed. The demonic tribe's immortal seed is here too. How can I not participate in the fight for treasures? The Black Wind Ape immortal seed laughed out loud. As the immortal seeds arrived one by one, various different pressures shrouded the place, causing the cultivators present to tremble in fear. Oh my God, is this the battle of immortal seeds? This is terrifying. I haven't seen such a big scene in a long time. Everyone discussed. Meanwhile, the immortal seeds were also sizing each other up. Jean Fei, long time no see. Purple Star's sequence 3 Zi Feng looked at Venus's sequence 3 Jean Fei and smiled faintly. Jean Fei grinned and said, "It's been a few hundred years since we last met. We didn't have a clear winner in our last battle, right? Why, you want to fight now? I'll fight you to the end. This isn't the right time. We're in front of the treasure vault. If we fight and both of us are injured, wouldn't it benefit others? That's true. Now, let's find a way to enter the Purple Blood Dao Palace." The immortal seeds looked at the 4 blood guards. "Let me try first." Cruel Jean charged at the blood guards with a long staff in hand. As the 2 sides fought, majestic Emperor Qi raged in the surroundings. However, Cruel Jean was suppressed by the 4 blood guards in no time and was sent flying with blood spurting out of his mouth. So powerful. When these 4 blood guards join forces, their combat strength is comparable to a great Dao Lord. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect that even the immortal seeds could not pass this test. Even the sequence immortal seeds are no match for these 4 blood guards. Interesting. Let me try then, Zi Feng said with a cold smile. Purple Star's sequence 3 made his move. He charged into the formation of the 4 blood guards. His strength was much stronger than Cruel Jin's, and he was able to contend with the 4 blood guards. Galaxy Annihilation. Zi Feng used his immortal technique, and a mighty galaxy that stretched for tens of thousands of miles swept out, instantly killing the 4 blood guards. Success. A Sequence 3's move is indeed extraordinary. After defeating the 4 blood guards, the Purple Blood Dao Palace's gate creaked open, and a voice came from the palace, "You may enter." Zifeng had obtained the recognition of the purple-blooded virtual immortal. Zifeng smiled proudly and said to Ziyunfan and the others, "I'll leave the treasures that leaked out of the palace to you." "All right." Everyone nodded. After Zifeng entered the Doctrine Palace, another 4 blood guards flew out from within, and everyone couldn't help but be surprised when they saw this. There's an endless supply of blood guards? Looks like the others have to pass the test of the blood guards to enter the palace. Seeing Zifeng enter the Dao Palace, the rest of the immortal seeds could not hold back anymore. Those who thought they were strong stepped forward to challenge him. Soon, a few more people walked into the Dao Palace. They were Imperial Heaven Sword Palace's Sanju Sword, Venus's Sequence 3 Jin Fei, Ruo Water Palace's Wuxia Xianxia, and Zifeng. As for the rest, they stayed outside the Dao Palace. Damn it! The Black Wind Ape Immortal Seed roared angrily and punched the ground. The ground exploded. He also wanted to enter the Dao Palace, but his strength was not enough to defeat the 4 blood guards, so he was blocked. This made him very unhappy. "I thought that even if I can't compare to Purple Star and Venus Sequence 1 Immortal Seed, I should be more than enough to compete with the Sequence 2 Immortal Seeds. I didn't expect that even Sequence 3 Immortal Seeds can enter, but I can't. Damn it, damn it." The more the Black Wind Ape Immortal Seed thought about it, the more unwilling he became. Chapter 845. Outside the Purple Blood Daoist Palace. The immortal seeds were about to collect the treasures in the light pillar. As for the cultivators who were not immortal seeds, they could only watch helplessly. Although they were unwilling, there was nothing they could do. However, at that moment, a series of footsteps could be heard. Not far away, Chu Kuangren was walking towards them with his head held high. He looked at the treasures in the light pillar and did not say anything. With a lift of his arm, a mysterious fluctuation appeared, and countless treasures disappeared into the light pillar. Everyone was shocked. What's going on? Spatial fluctuations, it's a spatial technique. Look, it's that guy. The treasures that disappeared suddenly appeared in front of Chu Kuangren. He looked at everyone like they were nothing and collected the treasures one by one. That scene made everyone's pupils dilate. Especially Jin Jia, Ziyunfan, and Feng Feiyan. It's him. I can't believe he's here too. Jin Jia and the others looked serious. At that moment, a black gale ape with a broken arm suddenly shouted, "Young master, he's the one who stole my Daoist origin." The black gale ape immortal seed looked at Chu Kuangren and said, "First, you stole my Daoist origin, and now you stole the treasures in this Daoist palace right in front of me. It seems like you're tired of living." Chu Kuangren did not answer. He looked past the black gale ape and looked at the purple blood Daoist palace. "It seems like there's a bigger opportunity of fortune waiting for me in this Daoist palace," he muttered to himself. He did not care about the black gale ape immortal seed at all. No. To be more precise, he did not care about everyone at the scene. B** starred. The black gale ape's expression turned grim. With a lift of its arm, a terrifying demonic chi erupted as it threw a punch at Chu Kuangren. The Daoist patterns and demonic chi turned into a black storm. Chu Kuangren focused his sword finger and slashed. A sword chi shot out and easily tore the black storm in half. The remaining sword chi continued to sweep out like a hot knife through butter. What? The black gale ape immortal seed's pupils shrunk. It roared and threw a punch, shattering the sword chi. It then looked at Chu Kuangren with a serious expression. "You're also an immortal seed." Not far away, the purple star sequence, gold star sequence, and the others watched the battle with surprise in their eyes. He's the Chu Kuangren who defeated the group of immortal seeds half a year ago. This strength is indeed strong enough. A young man suddenly walked in front of the purple star echelons and said, "Echelons, this is the person who took away the Tao essence that should have been ours." Moreover, Lu Rong also died at his hands. Hearing this, Zihan and Zi Jingfeng's eyes flashed a cold light, bold, daring to kill my purple star's people. Both of them unleashed their auras, and their domineering auras locked onto Chu Kuangren. The other immortal seeds more or less wanted to make a move as well, other than wanting to witness the other party's strength. More importantly, Chu Kuangren had taken away all the treasures right in front of their eyes. How could they sit still after that? At that moment, Chu Kuangren was being targeted by everyone at the scene. That man is too arrogant. He took away all the treasures the moment he arrived. How could the others possibly accept that? Not bad. Everyone discussed animatedly, looking as if they were watching a good show. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back. Facing the crowd of immortal seeds, he said indifferently, "It seems that you guys are very dissatisfied with me." Everyone was speechless at his words. "Don't you know what you've done?" However, Chu Kuangren's next words immediately enraged them. "If that's the case, let's all attack together." His arrogant words directly challenged all the immortal seeds at the scene. Everyone's hearts shook, and they were dumbstruck. The immortal seeds, on the other hand, were enraged. What a lunatic. I can't believe he's challenging all of us. Do you have what it takes? Cruel Gold took a step forward and said coldly, "Chu Kuangren, get this straight. This isn't the Dusty Star anymore. The immortal seeds here are much stronger than before. Do you think you can still suppress us?" Chu Kuangren chuckled and said, "No matter when or where, I can defeat all of you with just a wave of my hand. You guys are too weak." Extreme provocation would trigger the most extreme conflict. The immortal seeds could not take it anymore. The purple star echelon was the first to attack. His emperor's chi surged, Daoist patterns intertwined in the void, and countless starlight energies smashed towards Chu Kuangren. Boom, boom, a series of explosions were heard. The ground was blasted open, and smoke and dust were everywhere. "That's all you got?" Zihan snorted. "Yeah, that's all you got." An indifferent voice came from within the smoke and dust. Then, a terrifying domineering aura swept in all directions. When the smoke and dust dissipated, an unscathed and tall white figure was revealed. Chu Kuangren lifted his hand and pointed a finger. 10,000 deity calamity fire lotus. Endless streams of flames converged. The golden red lotus shone brightly. Zihan's expression changed drastically as he felt a huge threat looming over him. He dared not let his guard down and immediately activated his immortal technique. Galactic Apocalypse. However, when the fire lotus landed on the galactic apocalypse, a large portion of it was ignited and turned into a sea of fire. A violent domineering aura swept towards Zihan. This is not an ordinary flame. D***M*, this is the Phoenix Flame. Zihan was horrified when the galactic apocalypse exploded on the spot. The terrifying flames swept across and blasted him hundreds of feet away. One move, and the immortal seeds were defeated. This person is not someone we can fight alone. If we want to obtain the treasures on him, we must attack together. Ziyunfan said loudly. Then, he too activated his immortal technique. When the others saw that, they too made their moves with a serious expression. All sorts of powerful shockwaves instantly erupted. The immortal seeds each activated their strongest techniques to attack Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren stood still in the face of the overwhelming energy that was coming towards him. He combined his mind power and Emperor's Qi and unleashed the ultimate Tao and ultimate profoundness. With a single thought, all sounds shall be silenced, and the heavens and earth shall perish. Circles of light waves spread out. All of the energy that was charging towards Chu Kuangren was shattered by that terrifying light wave and was sent flying back. The group of immortal seeds bore the brunt of the attack and were blasted away. The light waves around Chu Kuangren retracted as he stood with his hands behind his back. His body was as steady as a mountain, his aura was as deep as the abyss, and his expression was as calm as an ancient well. Meanwhile, the people around him were dumbfounded. What did they just witness? One move. One move to blast a group of immortal seeds away. One move to defeat all the immortal seeds. They had heard that Chu Kuangren had defeated a group of immortal seeds half a year ago. At first, they thought that it was just an exaggeration. Perhaps it was just a rumor. However, now that they had witnessed that scene with their own eyes, they were shocked like never before. Not only were the rumors true, it was even more exaggerated. Chu Kuangren looked at the immortal seeds with a look of disappointment. Are all immortal seeds as insignificant as you all? No one knew how to answer this question at all. They were all immortal seeds, so when had they ever been insignificant? However, if they were not insignificant, why could they not even withstand a single move from Chu Kuangren? He's much stronger than half a year ago. Zi Yunfan looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. Half a year ago, Chu Kuangren had defeated them by using immortal techniques. Now, he could defeat them with just his profound mystery alone. Forget it. Who knows, there might be surprises in that Daoist palace. Chu Kuangren looked at the purple blood Daoist palace and walked towards it. Chapter 846. Chu Kuangren looked at the purple blood Daoist palace and walked towards it. However, at that moment, a whistling sound came from the side. A gigantic fist the size of a small mountain charged towards Chu Kuangren along with it. It was the black gale ape immortal seed. Chu Kuangren raised his hand to block the attack, but his body did not move an inch. Meanwhile, the black gale ape continued to swing its fists, unleashing attack after attack at Chu Kuangren like a black meteor shower. Although it could not enter the purple blood Daoist palace, its strength was still stronger than most of the immortal seeds present. Kid, don't be too arrogant. Have a taste of my power. The black gale ape roared and leaped into the air. It crossed its fists and smashed them towards Chu Kuangren. Before the attack landed, the explosive force had already caused the ground around Chu Kuangren to crack open. When the fist landed on Chu Kuangren, the ground beneath his feet caved in and cracks spread out like a spider web. In the blink of an eye, the cracks covered a radius of 100 kilometers. However, the black wind ape immortal seed's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. It could feel an extremely surging power blocking its fist. I thought letting that black gale ape go would bring me some fun, but I didn't expect it to be someone like you. An indifferent voice was heard. Under the black gale ape immortal seed's fist, Chu Kuangren single-handedly blocked its attack with a cold expression. Then, an unimaginably terrifying force erupted from his slender body. He forcefully lifted the black gale ape immortal seed's fist and pushed it away. The black gale ape immortal seed took a few steps back in shock. How can this human's physical strength be this strong? It took a deep breath and channeled the demonic chi within its body to its limit. Divine ability, Black Gust Demonic Wind. The Black Gale Ape was one of the famous demon tribes in the Purple Gold Galaxy. The Black Gust Demonic Wind was their specialty. The demonic wind could wear down a cultivator's flesh and emperor's chi. It was extremely terrifying. Especially when the immortal seed used it, its power was even more terrifying. An endless gust of wind shot out from its body and swept towards Chu Kuangren. Even a minor Dao Lord would be ground into a bloody mist if he was caught by this storm, and even his soul wouldn't be able to escape. However, Chu Kuangren still stood his ground and did not move an inch, allowing the black tornado to engulf him. Countless black wind blades landed on his body, but they could not even cut through the robe he was wearing, let alone hurt his physical body. The gorgeous white robe flowed with Dao patterns and treasure lights, and the surrounding storms couldn't harm it at all. A defensive Dao artifact. It's a defensive heavenly Dao artifact forged by a void immortal mortal sky. Someone exclaimed. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, stood on the spot and let out a smile as he sensed the power of this defensive Daoist weapon. This Dao artifact was strong enough to defend against attacks from anyone below the Heavenly Law Master level. Even if it was the Heavenly Law Master's power, it would be able to neutralize most of it. Coupled with his terrifyingly strong physical body and immortal body, it was almost impossible for the Heavenly Law to kill him. I'll let you see what true power is. Chu Kuangren looked at the black Gale Ape immortal seed and then raised his hand. He clenched his fist, and a terrifying domineering aura instantly erupted. The Starlight Immortal Physique's power erupted as Chu Kuangren threw out a punch. Majestic fist energy swept out, and the black tornado that surrounded Chu Kuangren was instantly shattered and dispersed. Wherever the fist landed, the ground cracked, and the mountains and rivers were crushed. Amidst the explosion, the power of the punch landed on the black Gale Ape immortal seed's body, and a series of bone-cracking sounds that made everyone's scalp numb could be heard. The black Gale Ape immortal seed was blasted away on the spot, and a huge amount of blood gushed out from its body like a rain of blood. It then landed on a mountain far away, shattering the entire mountain. When the crowd took a closer look, they saw that the black Gale Ape immortal seed's gigantic body was almost completely destroyed. Its life force flowed out like water from a broken dam, and it soon disappeared completely. An immortal seed had fallen. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air at the sight of this. They looked at Chu Kuangren as if they were looking at a demonic god. He killed an immortal seed with just a lift of his hand. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was too terrifying. I'm afraid there aren't many immortal seeds in the entire purple gold galaxy that can be compared to him. He's too powerful. I'm afraid that only the purple star and golden planet sequence ones can compete with him. Indeed. The crowd was amazed. Meanwhile, the black Gale Ape tribe cultivators looked at Chu Kuangren furiously as if they wanted to skin him alive. You! How dare you kill my tribe's immortal seed? The black Gale Ape whose arm was severed by Chu Kuangren earlier said angrily. Immortal seeds. They were top-notch sky prides that were nurtured by a force. They were existences that had the potential to become immortals, and they were extremely rare. Even if an immortal seed could not become an immortal in the future, as long as they continued to grow, they would definitely become the backbone of a force. But now, Chu Kuangren had broken their pillar of support right in front of the black Gale Ape. So what if I killed it? Chu Kuangren took a step forward and stood in front of the one-armed black Gale Ape. He said indifferently, "What can you do if I kill you now?" As soon as he said that, he raised his hand and threw a punch. The earth-shattering punch descended from the sky and landed on the black Gale Ape's body, exploding it into a cloud of blood mist. What does destroying you have to do with you? The sky was filled with a rain of blood that tainted the ground. Amidst the rain of blood, Chu Kuangren's gorgeous white robe was still spotless, making him look even more superior. The crowd gulped as they were shocked. The group of immortal seeds looked at each other and saw the horror in each other's eyes. Such a freak has appeared in the purple gold galaxy. Where did he come from? After killing the black Gale Ape, Chu Kuangren did not stop. He walked towards the purple blood palace and was intercepted by 4 blood guards. The crowd could not help but watch with rapt attention. The 4 blood guards were so powerful that ordinary immortal seeds could not even pass their test. Through the blood guards, they might be able to see Chu Kuangren's true strength. The 4 blood guards rushed forward and attacked Chu Kuangren. The 4 of them joined forces and interweaved into an impenetrable blood-red killing net. Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed when he saw that. How dare a mere puppet block my way? With that thought, tens of thousands of spiritual chi blades gathered and rained down like a storm. With a loud bang, the 4 blood guards were blasted into pieces. One move and the blood guards were destroyed. Compared to the few immortal seeds who passed the blood guards test, it was easier. What did that mean? It meant that Chu Kuangren's strength was above them. Looks like Zifeng, Sanju swordsman, Wuxia Xianxia, and Jin Fei are going to have a great enemy. That's right. I'm really curious to see who will get the opportunity of fortune in this Daoist palace. Even if Chu Kuangren gets the opportunity of fortune, there are a few powerhouses from the major forces around the Purple Blood Star. Can he really leave unscathed? Unless he has a powerful force behind him. But in the purple gold galaxy, which civilization or orthodoxy can compare to the purple star and Venus? The crowd watched Chu Kuangren step into the Daoist palace and discussed. Chapter 847. Within the Violet Blood Dao Palace. Wuxia Xianxia, Jian Sanju, Jin Fei, and Zi Feng sat on a praying mat, each with their brows tightly knitted, as though they were enduring something. In the sky above them, there was a prismatic crystal floating. Chu Kuangren arrived at this place. Looking at the 4 immortal seeds in front of him, he was a little shocked. What are those 4 doing? Then, he looked up at the prismatic crystal with a strange look in his eyes. Xiao AI, analyze this thing for me. Just as Xiao AI was analyzing, a voice suddenly rang out from the prismatic crystal, "Welcome, young genius." A futon appeared in front of Chu Kuangren. "You're a purple blood void immortal?" "Yes, it's just a will. As for the main body, it has long since left to travel the universe in search of the method to become an immortal." "What are they doing?" "They are currently undergoing the final test. If they can pass, they will be able to obtain the legacy that I have left in the Violet Blood Dao Palace." "You are here for my legacy, right? Then, let's begin the test." The purple-blooded void immortal said with a faint smile. Analysis complete. Xiao AI's voice rang out. Then, more and more information regarding the prismatic crystal appeared in Chu Kuangren's mind. A strange look flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes, and a playful look flashed across his face. "I'll play with you then." He stepped forward and sat on the praying mat. The purple-blooded illusory immortal was a little surprised. After all, he was the master of this place and an illusory immortal. Even the other sky prides treated him with respect when they entered, yet Chu Kuangren's attitude towards him was playful. Young prodigy, full of arrogance. The purple-blooded void immortal said indifferently. "If I'm not proud, can I still be called a young genius? Also, it depends on who I'm arrogant towards and how I'm arrogant towards." Chu Kuangren laughed. The purple blood void immortal fell silent for a moment. He realized that the person in front of him was somewhat different from the others. Could it be that the other party had seen through him? Impossible. How could he know that his plan was perfect? He must be thinking too much. The purple-blooded void immortal stopped thinking about it and continued, "Now, insert your monarch intent into this prismatic crystal, and you can begin the trial." Chu Kuangren did as he was told. Sovereign will surged out. Following this, he felt a strong suction force coming from the prismatic crystal, which followed his monarch will and pulled his soul. "Don't resist, or your soul will be heavily injured." The purple-blooded void immortal's voice sounded. Subsequently, Chu Kuangren's soul was sucked into an unknown entity. There was an arena in the void in front of him. 2 people were currently sparring in the arena. These 2 people were Jin Fei and Zi Feng. Below the stage, Wuxia Xianxia and Jian Sanju were watching the battle. What was worth noting was that Jin Fei and Zi Feng were both in soul form, but they could use their own daos and techniques. It looked as if they were fighting with their real bodies, which was extremely peculiar. Without an incomparably powerful soul force, it would be impossible to do this. Logically speaking, even though these 2 were immortal seeds, they did not cultivate the Tao of the soul, so it should be impossible for them to do this. It's because of that prismatic crystal. This place is the internal space of that prismatic crystal. It's here that our souls can move like our true bodies. We can even fight. Chu Kuangren muttered. That's right. I obtained this prismatic crystal by chance. It's called the Spirit Illusion Realm. Within this Spirit Illusion Realm, your souls will be able to move just like your real bodies, the purple-blooded void immortal said. Chu Kuangren was not surprised. It was as if he already knew about this. On the other side, Wuxia Xianxia and Jian Sanju also noticed Chu Kuangren's arrival, and their eyes were filled with surprise. "I can't believe there's another sky pride besides us who can enter the purple blood Daoist palace," Jian Sanju said. From his appearance, it seems like he's the Chu Kuangren who defeated a group of immortal seeds on Dusty Sky Star half a year ago. Wuxia Xianxia's eyes lit up. Yes, it's him. Xianxia remembered as well, and his eyes were filled with battle intent. This person has mastered an immortal sword Dao technique. I wonder if he's stronger than me. As the two conversed, Chu Kuangren was already in front of them. Since you've just entered the spirit illusion realm, I'm sure the purple-blooded void immortal has already told you about this trial, Wuxia Xianxia said. She looked at Chu Kuangren with a strange look in her eyes. Chu Kuangren's appearance and demeanor were very attractive even to a female immortal seed like Wuxia Xianxia. Yes. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. The purple-blooded void immortal is very thoughtful. He said that we're both immortal seeds with unlimited potential, so he couldn't bear to see us kill each other for his inheritance. Hence, he set up this spirit illusion realm to allow our souls to leave our bodies and fight here. In here, our souls won't die. Xianxia said. I know. So, let's have a good battle later. Xianxia changed the topic and said. All right. Chu Kuangren nodded. Then, his figure flashed and appeared on the arena. Jin Fei and Zifeng, who were originally fighting, were stunned when they saw him. What's going on? Newcomer, we haven't even decided who's the winner yet. Why are you suddenly here? Jin Fei said unhappily. Zifeng looked at the other party and his eyes were filled with coldness. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back. Although he was in soul form, his Daoist Dao was directly revealed. Countless Daoist patterns intertwined and circulated with him as the center, forming a terrifying domineering aura that enveloped the entire area. The soul illusion realm suddenly trembled. Although I can't fight your real bodies, in this soul illusion realm, the difference isn't that big. The four of you, come at me together. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He wanted to fight against four of them alone. Moreover, they were the top four immortal seeds in the purple gold galaxy. Arrogant. Kid, don't you think you're being too arrogant? Even the purple blood virtual immortal who was secretly observing was a little confused. Chu Kuangren stood still and looked at Xianxia and said, Didn't you say that you want to have a good battle with me? Why aren't you coming up? Xianxia's face was a little gloomy. He did want to have a good battle with Chu Kuangren and see what kind of sword Dao immortal technique his opponent had. However, he said it was a one-on-one battle. Not a group fight. He felt that his dignity as a swordsman was being challenged. Purple blood virtual immortal, aren't you going to say something in this situation? Jin Fei said to the void. Since Junior Chu wants to fight against four of us, then I have nothing to say. As long as you succeed, the inheritance is yours. The purple blood virtual immortal said calmly. Upon hearing that, the few of them were a little surprised. They did not expect the purple blood virtual immortal to agree to such a request. Fine, then I'll deal with this arrogant kid first, then I'll fight you guys. Jin Fei sneered. He took a step forward, and Daoist patterns intertwined and circulated in his hands. His fist shone with a golden light, and a domineering aura swept out. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren also threw out a punch. The Daoist patterns intertwined and the two fists collided. Jin Fei's body was instantly sent flying out of the arena. How can this be? Even if his strength is above mine, how can he be so much stronger? Countless green dots of light dissipated from Jin Fei's body. That was his soul energy. Although the soul would not die in the soul illusion realm, the soul energy would still be depleted. Chapter 848. In the spiritual illusion realm. Chu Kuangren sent Jin Fei flying with a single punch. His powerful combat strength instantly caused everyone's pupils to shrink and a serious look appeared in their eyes. No wonder he dared to fight four at once. So that's how it is. What a powerful combat strength. Looks like we really need to team up. Jin Fei and Zifeng looked at each other. Then, the purple star and golden star sequences rushed towards Chu Kuangren at the same time. Even in their soul forms, they still used their soul energy to manifest their Daoist techniques as they continuously attacked Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren unleashed his techniques with a single thought. Flames and chills exploded one after another, stirring up the spiritual illusion realm. The two third-rank immortal seeds could not help but feel extremely troubled by the immense power. They were actually being suppressed. D****. Immortal Technique, Galactic Apocalypse. Zifeng raised his hand and activated his immortal technique. A gigantic and dazzling galaxy swept towards Chu Kuangren. On the other side, the golden star sequence Jin Fei was not to be outdone. Golden light flowed around his body and formed into a gigantic palm that grabbed towards Chu Kuangren with an earth-shattering force. The two immortal techniques were unleashed at the same time, their power shaking the heavens and earth. Chu Kuangren smiled at the sight of this. As he raised his hand, a sword ray danced in his hand and turned into a long sword. With the long sword in hand, an emperor avatar formed behind him. Honorable Emperor Sword Art, sole dominator of the universe. Below the stage, the third swordsman could not help but narrow his eyes at the sight of this sword. What a powerful sword Dao immortal technique. He was a little eager to try it out. On the stage, the two immortal techniques collided with each other. The result was, of course, Chu Kuangren was stronger as he directly swept away the two fairy seeds. At the side, Wuxia Xianxia could not sit still anymore. The power that Chu Kuangren had displayed was not something that any of them could defeat in a one-on-one fight. If they did not finish him off first, they would not be able to defeat him. Then, this inheritance would naturally have nothing to do with them. Immortal Technique, Raging Waves. Wuxia Xianxia's body was surrounded by water rays. Then, countless water rays condensed in her palm, and a powerful shockwave suddenly erupted. With a blast of her palm, thousands of water rays intertwined into a torrent that struck out. With a single thought, 10,000 rivers of snow and ice. Chu Kuangren gently raised his hand. Powerful psychic power fluctuated and turned into endless cold air. With a loud bang, cold air swept out and froze the water that filled the sky. Wuxia Xianxia's face changed as she retreated. However, half of her arm was still frozen by the frost chi, and a large amount of her soul force dissipated. This was also in the spirit fantasy realm. If it was in the real world, her arm would probably be crippled. You really don't know how to be gentle with the fairer sex. Wuxia Xianxia looked at Chu Kuangren and still had the mood to tease him. However, the Daoist Dao on her body was unleashed once again. The water rays that filled the sky turned into countless water droplets and rained down on Chu Kuangren like a torrential rain. Useless move. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. With a thought, the cold air appeared again. When the water droplets got close to him, they turned into countless ice beads and fell to the ground. I'm afraid this fellow's strength is comparable to that of a sequence one. Wuxia Xianxia said with a solemn expression. Purple Star and Venus were the two sequence ones. They were publicly acknowledged as the strongest immortal seeds in the purple gold galaxy. Ordinary great Dao lords could easily defeat them. From Wuxia Xianxia's point of view, Chu Kuangren in front of her was very likely to have reached that level as well, or even more. Whether he can be compared to a sequence one will depend on whether he can withstand this move of mine. A cold voice rang out. Zifeng leaped into the air with starlight circulating around his body, forming an illusion of the Big Dipper in the void. However, among the 7 stars, the last star was a little dim, but that did not affect the power of this move at all. Take this. Immortal Technique, 7-star God Art. 6 of the 7 stars shot out one after another. The power of this attack shook the entire spirit fantasy realm. When Chu Kuangren saw this, his expression changed slightly. This move is getting a little interesting. The Daoist patterns on his body intertwined as he unleashed the ultimate mystery. With a single thought, all sounds are silenced, and the heavens and earth die. Circles of light waves spread out with him as the center, colliding with the 6 incoming stars. The rumbling sounds were continuous. One by one, the 6 stars were destroyed by Chu Kuangren. This scene made Zifeng's pupils dilate. How is this possible? Even my 7-star god art, which has reached the 6th level, can't beat him. At that moment, a buzzing sound of swords rang out. Not far away, the 3rd swordsman finally could not hold it in any longer and made his move. 3 swords pierced through the air and shot towards Chu Kuangren. One sword was like the scorching sun. One sword was like the moon of the moon. One sword was like the shining stars. 3 swords, 3 different types of sword Daoist erupted. Chu Kuangren squinted his eyes, and the long sword in his hand that was formed from his soul energy slashed out, hitting the 3 swords. After a few clangs, the 3 swords flew back and circled around the 3rd swordsman, their majestic sword pressure enveloping the entire area. The rotation of 3 talents, this is the Royal Heaven Sword Sect's most powerful immortal technique, the Royal Heaven Tritalent Sword Art. Wuxia Xianxia said solemnly. The Royal Heaven Sword Sect was one of the oldest orthodoxies in the Purple Gold Galaxy. In terms of cultivation civilizations, the Purple Star and Venus were the strongest. The Royal Heaven Sword Sect was the strongest orthodoxy in the Purple Gold Galaxy. Not even the Purple Star and Venus dared to say that they could win against the Royal Heaven Sword Sect. Fight! The 3rd swordsman let out a cold roar and flew onto the stage. He held the sun sword of the 3 swords of solitude, moonlight, and slashed towards Chu Kuangren. The sword ray was like the great sun. Chu Kuangren lifted his arm and a golden-red fiery lotus shot out. Boom! The fiery lotus and the sword chi intertwined, causing a huge impact. It was as if the entire soul illusion realm was about to explode. Then, the moon sword beside the 3rd swordsman automatically unleashed a dazzling sword chi. This sword chi was extremely cold and sinister. Wherever the sword chi passed, the entire stage was frozen. Chu Kuangren unleashed the 10,000 snowy mist with a single thought. Fighting cold with cold. After the 2 energies collided, it was as if the surroundings had turned into the middle of winter. The sky was covered in snow, and the ground was covered in silver. The 3rd swordsman unleashed the 3rd sword technique. This 3rd sword technique split into thousands of sword rays that shone like countless stars in the night sky. It was a dazzling sight to behold. 10,000 blade disaster with a single thought. Chu Kuangren commanded. Countless weapons condensed, transforming into a storm of spirit weapons. Boom boom boom, the starlight sword chi collided with the spiritual weapons and exploded. In the void, waves of chi were sent tumbling. Wuxia Xianxia, Jin Fei, and Zifeng were all forced to retreat. The final technique. Triple rotation, Royal Heavenly Sword. The 3rd swordsman snorted coldly. 3 different types of sword Daoist then converged to form an incredibly powerful sword intent. It then transformed into a gigantic sword shadow that exuded an infinite amount of power as it slashed towards Chu Kuangren. Let's fight sword with sword then. As Chu Kuangren lifted his arm, an emperor's avatar appeared. The Honorable Emperor's sword art, sole dominator of the universe. In the center of the avatar's palm, dozens of sword chi flowed and condensed into a domineering golden sword chi that slashed towards the gigantic sword shadow. When the 2 sword Daoists collided, the entire stage cracked. The sword chi was like a storm that swept across the soul illusion realm. Chapter 849. The sword chi storm swept across, shaking the entire soul illusion realm. When the storm dissipated, one of them stood tall, while the other was kneeling on the ground. Chu Kuangren pressed his long sword against Sanju swordsman's shoulder. Sanju swordsman's expression was grim as he half knelt on the ground. His soul energy had been depleted by half. I've lost. Sanju swordsman took a deep breath and said. Chu Kuangren's long sword dissipated as he said, "This is not something to be ashamed of, because the person you've lost to is me." Everyone looked at each other. How shameless did he have to be to say something like that? Losing to you is a kind of glory? Of course, they did not say it out loud. After all, only the winner had the right to decide everything. And now, they were the losers. I'll find you for another battle. Sanju swordsman stood up and said. Through this battle with Chu Kuangren, he felt that his sword intent had improved. As long as he continued to polish it, he would be able to reach the next level. Based on that alone, he should be thanking Chu Kuangren. I'll be waiting. Chu Kuangren said. He did not take his opponent's declaration of war to heart. Those who were defeated by him would never stand a chance against him, and those people could only chase after him until they disappeared from his sight. After defeating the 4 immortal seeds, the entire soul illusion realm began to shake. Countless rays of light circulated in the void, which then formed into a purplish-red altar. Congratulations, Chu Kuangren. My inheritance is now yours. The purple-blooded illusionary immortal's voice rang out. Stand on this stage, and I will use a secret technique to pass on all my insights and cultivation experiences to you, helping you become an immortal. Upon hearing that, the other 4 people could not help but have a burning passion in their eyes. They had already seen the glory of becoming an immortal, and their understanding of cultivation was much stronger than some of the Sky Masters. If they could convert their cultivation experiences and insights into their own, it would be a huge help to them in becoming immortals. The cultivation experience of an illusionary immortal? Chu Kuangren let out a chuckle and flew onto the altar. Instantly, the altar shook, and rays of light circulated. Then, 4 pillars of light rose from the 4 corners of the altar, forming an enchanted boundary that trapped Chu Kuangren within. The others looked at each other, feeling that something was wrong. What's going on? Is this barrier to prevent us from launching a sneak attack? No, look. 4 purplish-red chains flew out from the 4 light pillars and bound Chu Kuangren's limbs. It did not look like they were used to prevent others from ambushing him, but to prevent him from leaving. Success. A laugh rang out. An old man in a purplish-red robe appeared on the altar. He looked at Chu Kuangren with a look of ecstasy in his eyes. A 39-year-old Daoist master. What an immortal seed. The expressions of the others changed when they saw the old man. It's a purple blood void immortal. Something's wrong. Didn't the purple-blooded virtual immortal already leave the purple gold galaxy? Why did it suddenly appear? What's going on? Could it be that what's left in this spirit realm isn't the will of the purple-blood virtual immortal, but his soul? The few immortal seeds were bewildered. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren, who was bound to the altar, looked calm and composed. The purple-blooded virtual immortal was surprised to see that. Chu Kuangren, are you pretending to be calm, or are you really that confident? Take a guess. Chu Kuangren said playfully. He looked at the purple-blooded virtual immortal with a glint in his eyes like a hunter looking at his prey. It was as if the one being bound was not him but the purple-blooded virtual immortal. Purple-blooded virtual immortal, what's going on? At that moment, Jean Fei could not help but ask. What's going on? You guys don't have to worry about that. Just watch. Don't worry, since Chu Kuangren has taken the bait, I won't do anything to you guys anymore, the purple-blooded virtual immortal said. However, the few of them did not feel at ease at all. Everything had happened too quickly. They would only feel anxious if they did not understand what was going on. What's going on? Why don't I explain it to you? At that moment, the bound Chu Kuangren laughed. The others looked at him and frowned. Now that he had become a fish on someone else's chopping board, how could he still laugh? The purple-blooded virtual immortal looked at Chu Kuangren with interest. He wanted to see what his opponent could say. The purple-blooded virtual immortal is actually dead. Chu Kuangren said calmly. His first words were shocking. The purple-blooded virtual immortal's expression froze when he heard that. To be more precise, the purple-blooded virtual immortal's physical body has already perished. What we're seeing now is his remnant soul. What he wants to do is to take over someone else's body and be reborn. However, as a virtual immortal, how could he be willing to take over an ordinary cultivator's body? Of course, it's best to take over a celestial seed. That's the only way for him to become an immortal. That's why he spread the rumor that he's leaving the galaxy and is preparing to inherit the ancient star. He'll use the ancient star as bait to attract the celestial seeds and choose the best one to take over. Am I right? Chu Kuangren chuckled. The purple-blooded virtual immortal laughed when he heard that. I can't believe that you're still able to figure out my intentions in such a dangerous situation. Chu Kuangren, other than your talent, your wisdom is also rare. The others' expressions darkened when they heard that. They looked at the purple-blooded virtual immortal coldly. Anyone who was tricked like that would not be happy. Purple-blooded virtual immortal, you're making an enemy out of the purple star. If anything happens to me, the golden star will not forgive you. Faced with the threat, the purple-blooded virtual immortal said calmly, if I can be reborn as a celestial seed, so what if I have to make an enemy out of the immortal technique civilization? With the potential of a celestial seed and my cultivation experience as a virtual immortal, my chances of becoming an immortal will greatly increase in this life. Not to mention, there's also the opportunity of fortune that will soon appear in the shattered immortal world. I, the purple-blooded virtual immortal, will definitely set foot on the path of immortality. A hint of ambition flashed in the purple-blooded virtual immortal's eyes. I won't be like I was in the past, where I went into closed-door meditation for a few millennia just to seek immortality. In the end, I've exhausted all my energy and died from chi deviation. If it weren't for this spiritual illusion realm, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to preserve this remnant soul of mine. Alright, that's all. Chu Kuangren, it's time to devour your soul and take over your body. The purple-blooded virtual immortal's palm landed on Chu Kuangren's body, causing the chains to tremble and erupt with a mysterious energy that continuously disintegrated Chu Kuangren's soul energy. Countless specks of light drifted out from Chu Kuangren's body. The purple-blooded virtual immortal opened his mouth wide and swallowed those specks of light into his body. A look of joy appeared on his face. What a pure soul energy. Chu Kuangren, it's great to have met you. Heh, are you sure you can absorb me completely? Chu Kuangren chuckled. Don't even think about resisting. This soul refinement altar is specifically used to refine souls. Moreover, you've just gone through a great battle and have consumed most of your soul energy. How are you going to resist my power? The purple-blooded virtual immortal sneered. He was determined to obtain Chu Kuangren's soul. Only by devouring Chu Kuangren's soul could he merge with Chu Kuangren's physical body and unleash the full potential of the celestial seed. Chapter 850. In the soul illusionary realm, the soul altar suddenly appeared. Chu Kuangren was trapped within it, and his soul energy was constantly being refined by the purple-blood illusionary immortal. Not far away, the few fairy seeds looked at each other. What a shame. A top-notch fairy seed is about to die. Zifeng shook his head. However, he only had a gloating expression on his face. He did not hold any grudges against Chu Kuangren, but he was happy to have one less powerful opponent on his path to immortality. Idiot. However, the third swordsman suddenly shouted. What do you mean? Zifeng's expression darkened. Do you really think that the purple-blood illusionary immortal will let us go after he refines Chu Kuangren? Don't be so naive. The third swordsman said coldly. His opponent was an illusionary immortal. Who knew what other tricks he had up his sleeves? The other three were deep in thought when they heard his words. Third swordsman, I have no need to offend Purple Star, Gold Star, Royal Heaven Sword Sect, and Feeble Water Palace. As long as I refine Chu Kuangren, I'll let you guys go. The purple-blood illusionary immortal said from the soul altar. However, the third swordsman ignored him. He focused his sword fingers and channeled his soul energy into 3 swords that hovered around him. I only believe in the swords in my hands. After that, the three swords pierced through the air and slashed at the soul altar. Boom! The void trembled, and the sword chi dissipated. However, the soul altar was unharmed. The third swordsman frowned. It's useless. Even at your peak, you guys can't break the enchanted boundary of this altar. Not to mention, you guys have just gone through a huge battle and your soul energy is greatly damaged, the purple blood illusionary immortal said. This is the reason why you pretended to set up this test. You wanted to deplete our soul energy and make it easier for you to attack us. The third swordsman said coldly. That's right. In fact, when you agreed to Chu Kuangren's request to have the four of us attack him together, you already had your eyes on Chu Kuangren at that time and wanted to take over his body. By having us attack him together, we can deplete his soul energy to the greatest extent, Wuxia Xianxia said. Heh, that's right. The purple blood illusionary immortal smiled and nodded. Humph, Wuxia Xianxia snorted lightly as his soul force burst forth. Streams of watery light revolved around him, turning into torrential waves that crashed against the barrier around the altar. Oh, you want to save him too? It would be a pity for such a good-looking man to die. Besides, I don't believe your nonsense, just like the three absolute swordsmen. Dao patterns revolved around Wuxia Xianxia as he prepared to gather immortal arts. The sword pressure emanating from the Triju swordmaster's body continued to rise. When the nearby Jin Fei and Zi Feng saw this, they pondered deeply for a moment before similarly activating their immortal arts and preparing to make a move. It was clear that they were more willing to believe in themselves than placing all their hopes on the purple-blooded void immortal's verbal promise. Four waves of immortal spells erupted at the same time, blasting toward the barrier around the altar. However, after the fierce collision, the altar's barrier was not damaged in the slightest. There wasn't even a crack on it. I told you, you won't be able to break this barrier. The purple-blooded void immortal said indifferently. What if it's me? An indifferent voice sounded. It was Chu Kuangren. The purple-blooded phantom immortal was taken aback. Looking at Chu Kuangren, whose soul energy was being refined by him, he could not help but sneer. Chu Kuangren, you can't even protect yourself now, and you still want to break my enchantment? Heh, who told you that I only have myself? Forget about purple-blooded void immortals. Sanju swordsman and the others were stunned. I only have myself? Humph, Chu Kuangren, I think your soul energy has been refined to the point that you've lost consciousness. You only have one soul, don't tell me you have two. The purple-blooded void immortal sneered. Wrong. Chu Kuangren smirked. It's three. Boom. As soon as he said that, the entire soul illusion realm suddenly shook violently. Not far away, two white-robed figures who were sitting on top of the lotus thrones flew over, their bodies emanating an incomparably terrifying aura. More importantly, the two of them looked exactly the same. No, it was not just their appearance, even their auras were identical. Those two were Chu Kuangren. Impossible. The purple-blooded void immortal was extremely shocked. The other immortal seeds were even more dumbfounded. Three Chu Kuangren? Who could tell them what was going on? The two Chu Kuangren flew into the air and arrived above the soul-refining altar. One of them looked at Chu Kuangren on the altar and laughed. Human soul, you look really pathetic. That was right. The soul that was being refined in the altar was only the human soul of Chu Kuangren's three souls. As the main soul, the heavenly soul, had just entered. In other words, even if the human soul was refined by the purple-blooded void immortal, it would not affect Chu Kuangren too much. He could just find time to cultivate it back. If you don't do something soon, I'll really be dead. Besides, this void immortal soul is a great tonic. Come in and devour it together. The human soul said. All right. The earth soul and heavenly soul chuckled. Suddenly, their gazes froze. As the earth soul lifted his arm, Daoist patterns intertwined and his soul energy exploded. His punch was an invincible technique, heaven and earth reversal. The fist energy soared into the sky, causing the sun and moon to flip and the world to tremble. Meanwhile, the heavenly soul used his soul energy to form a white jade sword. Its majestic sword pressure poured out like a torrent, forming an emperor's avatar. It was the immortal technique, honorable emperor's sword art. Sole dominator of the universe. One was invincible, while the other was an overbearing immortal technique. The two Chu Kuangrens unleashed their ultimate techniques at the same time. The surging power caused the entire soul illusory realm to shake violently. The few immortal seeds were dumbfounded when they saw that. They realized that the heavenly soul and earthly soul's powers were slightly stronger than the human souls. This meant that Chu Kuangren did not use his full strength when he fought them earlier. At the very least, the three souls did not attack together. Otherwise, they would be dead in 2 to 3 moves. 3 souls? How can this be? What kind of cultivation technique is this? Freak. That was the only thought left in the few immortal seeds' minds. Under the shocked gazes of the few people, the sword chi and fist energy landed on the enchanted boundary of the altar. The enchanted boundary that even the immortal seeds could not break was torn open. The heavenly soul and earthly soul's figures flashed and flew into the altar. What kind of broken chain is this? Break it. The earth soul looked at the chain that bound the human soul and curled his lips. He then swiped his sword finger and several sword chi formed from the souls landed on the chain. With a clang, the chain was broken. The human soul regained its freedom. All right, it's time to deal with this old man. The human soul said calmly. The purple-blooded virtual immortal gulped and looked at Chu Kuangren's 3 souls in disbelief. What kind of monster are you? There was only 1 soul in a cultivator's body. How could there be 3 of them? Let's do it. Chu Kuangren did not want to waste any more time talking to his opponent. The 3 souls immediately attacked. One used the immortal technique Supreme Emperor's sword art, one used the mysterious Invincible technique, and the last used the rise of a thought. All of them attacked the purple-blooded virtual immortal at the same time. The endless techniques and powerful soul fluctuations were too much for the purple-blooded virtual immortal to handle, and he was instantly at a disadvantage. His years of planning had turned into a dream at that moment. Chapter 851. The 3 souls attacked at the same time, fighting against the purple-blooded void immortal. With a single thought, the art of the undefeatable and the Reverend Emperor's sword technique were displayed at the same time. This kind of power shocked all the immortal seeds. The purple-blooded void immortal, who was taking the brunt of the attack, was even more suppressed. Boom! The purple-blooded phantom immortal was struck by the invincible technique, universal reversal. A large amount of soul light dots emerged from his body and were absorbed into Chu Kuangren's body. 9 revolutions 3 elements soul refining art. The soul energy was quickly refined and absorbed by him. This altar of yours is quite useful. Chu Kuangren chuckled. The refining soul altar was one of the treasures of the purple blood void immortal. On it, the more powerful souls could absorb the souls of the weaker ones. Meanwhile, the purple-blooded spectral immortal was both shocked and enraged when he saw that Chu Kuangren was continuously absorbing his soul energy. His entire soul form was trembling. Initially, she thought that she was the meat on Chu Kuangren's chopping block. She thought that Chu Kuangren could only be put on the chopping block and be obediently slaughtered by her. Who would have thought that the other party was the hunter and he was the prey? Moreover, it was the kind of prey that obediently delivered itself to his doorstep. Damn it! How could something like this have happened? It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. The purple blood void immortal couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he tried. His plan was flawless. How could a variable like Chu Kuangren appear? When did you know that I wanted to take over your body? The purple-blooded void immortal asked indignantly. I knew at the moment I entered the Violet Blood Dao Palace. Chu Kuangren sneered. Xiao AI was able to figure out what the prismatic crystal, which contained the spirit illusion realm and the purple-blooded virtual immortal soul, was capable of. He didn't even have to guess. How could that be? Even if you're as intelligent as a demon, it's still impossible. The purple-blooded void immortal was astonished. He knew my plan the moment we met? You must be bragging. But if that wasn't the case, how did the plan get leaked? As wise as a demon. Heh, thanks for the compliment. To be more precise, it wasn't him, but Xiao AI. Speaking of which, Xiao AI wasn't very intelligent. However, she was even more exaggerated than devilish wisdom. She was a cheat. Humph humph, Xiao AI snorted in his mind. Look at how smug you are. No. TSK, only a ghost would believe that. Chu Kuangren curled his lips and continued to deal with the purple-blooded illusory immortal. If the purple-blooded hollow immortal was at his peak, with the strength of a hollow immortal soul, even if he cultivated the 9 revolution 3 elements refining soul technique, he would not be able to defeat the purple-blooded hollow immortal so easily. However, the purple-blooded void immortal was only a remnant soul. No matter how strong a remnant soul was when it was still alive, it was no match for Chu Kuangren now. It was only a remnant soul that was left behind by the spiritual illusion realm. No, I have to leave. Otherwise, I will really die here. Seeing that Chu Kuangren's attacks were getting stronger and stronger, the purple-blooded phantom immortal suddenly wanted to leave. He opened the enchanted boundary of the altar and dashed away. Where can you go? Chu Kuangren chuckled. The 3 souls attacked at the same time. Dao patterns intertwined and psyche power circulated. Following that, the Dao patterns turned into 3 world chains that flew out. The void immortal was bound by the world lock like a bolt of lightning. Heh, just now you used chains to lock me up. Now, this is called giving you a taste of your own medicine. The human soul sneered and yanked fiercely. The purple-blooded void immortal was instantly pulled back onto the soul-refining altar. He had no way of escaping under the restraint of the world lock. D**mnet, D**mnet. Immortal technique, amethyst dragon crimson finger. The purple-blooded void immortal roared and unleashed his immortal technique. However, before he could fully unleash his technique, Chu Kuangren's 3 souls attacked at the same time and interrupted his opponent's energy. The 3 souls surrounded the purple-blooded void immortal. Not long after, the void immortal's soul was shattered into pieces. A large amount of soul energy dissipated and was absorbed by Chu Kuangren's soul. As time went by, the purple-blooded void immortal's soul gradually dissipated. Arise with a single thought. Honorable Emperor Sword Art. Technique of invincibility. 3 surges of energy erupted at the same time. The purple-blooded void immortal's soul was completely destroyed. Chu Kuangren absorbed a large amount of soul light dots into his body, and the 9 transformations 3 elemental soul refinement technique was activated to its maximum. 9 transformations 3 elemental, merge. Chu Kuangren's heavenly soul shouted. The earth and human souls merged into the heavenly soul, and an even more terrifying soul-domineering aura erupted and swept in all directions. 9 transformations 3 elemental, the 5th transformation, completed. Not only that, but the earth and human souls were once again formed, and each of them was filled with surging soul energy. Sword Tri-Ju and Wuxia Xianxia shuddered under the terrifying soul-domineering aura. The few immortal seeds were dumbfounded. What a strange soul cultivation technique. Alright, it's time to head back. Chu Kuangren murmured. Then, the 3 souls combined their strength and attacked the void. There was a loud explosion. The void was torn apart. A crack was forcefully torn open in the spirit illusion realm. Chu Kuangren's 3 souls rushed towards the crack, and Sword Tri-Ju and Wuxia Xianxia immediately regained their senses. Everyone quickly followed Chu Kuangren's footsteps and rushed into the crack. Inside the purple-blooded Daoist palace, several rays of light shot out from the levitating prismatic crystal and entered Chu Kuangren's body. He suddenly opened his eyes. Heh, I've gained quite a lot this time. The purple-blooded void immortal's inheritance was a lie. However, his soul energy was real. This time, his 9 transformations 3 elemental soul refinement technique had been upgraded from the 4th transformation to the 5th transformation, and it was even at the peak of the 5th transformation. Now, he could easily kill a great Dao master with just his mind energy alone. If he were to use his Emperor's Qi and other techniques, he would not even be afraid of the top great Dao masters. This trip to the ancient Star of Heritage was not a waste. Chu Kuangren smiled. At that moment, several rays of light shot out from the prismatic crystal. It was Wuxia Xianxia and the others. They returned to their physical bodies and opened their eyes to look at Chu Kuangren. Their eyes were filled with fear and awe. Chu Kuangren ignored the immortal seeds and got up to grab the prismatic crystal in his hand. He carefully sensed it. You want to take this soul illusion realm away? Zifeng asked. Why, you guys don't agree? Chu Kuangren chuckled. Everyone looked at each other, and no one dared to say a word. What kind of joke was that? Even the purple blood virtual immortal was killed by him. Although the soul illusion realm was a battle of souls, and he did not use his physical cultivation, I don't think his physical combat strength is that bad. A soul illusion realm is useless to me. I don't cultivate soul Dao, so I don't mind giving it to him. The immortal seeds each had their own thoughts, and none of them made a move. Chu Kuangren chuckled when he saw that. Boring. He then walked out of the purple blood Daoist palace. The other immortal seeds followed suit. When Zihan, Cruel Gold, and the other immortal seeds saw Zifeng and the others coming out, they quickly went up to them. Zifeng, what's the situation inside? Who got the inheritance? Zifeng shook his head. No one got the inheritance. The few of them briefly explained what happened in the purple blood Daoist palace. The immortal seeds could not help but look at each other when they heard that. The inheritance is fake, and all the treasures are in Chu Kuangren's hands. Doesn't that mean he's the biggest winner? Together with the spirit fantasy realm, we didn't gain as much as he did? Zifeng frowned. Chu Kuangren got all the treasures? That's right. F***CK. If that was the case, did that not mean that their trip here was all for naught? We can't let him leave just like that. There's no inheritance, but those treasures are real. We can't let them fall into Chu Kuangren's hands just like that. Chapter 852. Outside the Purple Blood planet, many forces were paying close attention to the situation. Suddenly, a furious roar came from one of the warships. Who was it? Who killed my clan's immortal seed? A furious roar resounded through the starry sky. Many people heard it. They looked over and revealed playful expressions. It's the Black Wind Ape clan. Yes. Ah, interesting. The celestial seed of the Black Wind Ape clan has been killed. I wonder who did it. If I remember correctly, the celestial seed's power is extraordinary. Of the geniuses who entered the Purple Blood planet this time, there are probably less than 5 who could kill it. Indeed. Could it be someone from Purple Star or Venus? If it was really done by the immortal seeds of those 2 civilizations, then even if the Black Wind Ape had 100 grievances, it would have no choice but to swallow it. Purple Star. Venus was the strongest civilization in the Purple Gold Galaxy. Although the Black Wind Ape's foundation was extraordinary, it could not compare to the other party. If they were to forcefully start a war, they would only be courting death. Whoosh, whoosh, one after another, streams of light flew out. All the geniuses had come out. The top experts of the various forces all went up to understand the situation, wanting to know who had obtained the inheritance. But after understanding what had happened, everyone couldn't help but feel astonished. This inheritance was fake? They were all fooled by the purple-blooded void immortal? What a purple-blood illusionary immortal. He's despicable and shameless. If it weren't for the fact that I, the Purple Star Immortal, am blessed by fate, I'm afraid I would have been killed by him. One of Purple Star's top masters could not help snorting coldly as he raised his hand and sent out a palm strike, sending out a star river tens of thousands of kilometers in length. With a boom, more than half of Purple Blood Planet was destroyed. As the Purple Blood False Immortal perished, the false immortal power of the Purple Blood Star also gradually dissipated. The star could not withstand more than a few blows from the ultimate elite. Where is Chu Kuangren? At that moment, the strong cultivators of the Black Gale Ape tribe let out an angry roar. They already knew that it was Chu Kuangren who had killed their immortal seed. Apart from the Black Wind Ape, the other forces were also looking for this person. After all, most of the treasures on the Purple Blood Star had entered his interspatial ring. They could not act as if nothing had happened. The expert's monarch senses swept out. Soon, they had locked onto Chu Kuangren's whereabouts. At this moment, the other party had taken out a warship and was leisurely preparing to leave this place and head to the next place to train. But in the next instant, the Emperor's senses of many experts swept over. Chu Kuangren paused for a moment. He smirked. Sure enough, it won't be that easy to leave. Whoosh, 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 one by one, the figures leaped into the air and stood in mid-air, sealing Chu Kuangren within. Their terrifying auras filled the entire starry sky. So what if it's a peak immortal seed? Without a strong enough background, they will still have to spit out the treasures they obtained. That's right. Treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. Let me see how arrogant he can be. Not far away, when Zifeng, Jin Fei, and the others saw this scene, some of them revealed gloating expressions. Chu Kuangren, do you want to leave just like that after killing my Black Gale Ape's immortal seed? You're too naive. A Black Gale Ape that was about the same size as a normal human with black fur stared at him with murderous intent. Chu Kuangren, hand over the treasures you obtained from the Purple Blood Daoist Palace, and I'll pretend that nothing happened when you killed my people, one of the great Daoist lords said. That's right. A mere Daoist lord like you wants to take all the treasures for yourself. Don't you think your appetite is too big? Hand over the treasures, and you may live. All the experts from the various forces were pressuring Chu Kuangren. Half a year ago, when Chu Kuangren battled the immortal seed, they had already investigated his background and knew that he was from the Firmament Star. Although it was a high-level cultivation civilization, it was still a far cry from the truly powerful forces in the Purple Gold Galaxy. Hence, they were not afraid of making him their enemy. Chu Kuangren remained indifferent in the face of everyone's threats. If you want the treasures, why don't you fight me? Or are you afraid of something? Everyone's eyes flashed when they heard him. Indeed. Chu Kuangren was from the Firmament Star, so he did not have a strong background. However, he somehow managed to form a connection with the Mortal Sky Illusionary Immortal and obtained the Mortal Sky Jade token. That was what they were most afraid of. What's wrong? Are you mute? Chu Kuangren sneered. Everyone's expression darkened when they saw his attitude. Chu Kuangren, so what if you have the support of the Mortal Sky Illusionary Immortal for killing my tribe's immortal seed? Don't forget that the civilization you're from doesn't have many Daoist lords. If the Black Gale Ape tribe wants to, we can turn your Firmament Star into cosmic dust in just a few years. One of the Black Gale Ape tribe's experts said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, an extremely cold murderous intent exploded and swept through the entire area. Try me. Chu Kuangren yelled. A clang was heard. The descendant's self-sword at his waist was unsheathed and landed in his palm. In the void, a gigantic colorful rune gathered and turned into 9 colorful dragons that instantly surged into Chu Kuangren's body. The Divine 9 Dragons transformation talisman was unleashed. Chu Kuangren's Emperor's Qi cultivation base instantly skyrocketed. He had directly skipped the peak of a minor Daoist lord and stepped into the great Dao master level. His Emperor's Qi and mind power were instantly unleashed. The celestial technique Supreme Emperor's sword art was unleashed, and the Emperor's avatar was formed. Hundreds of sword chi gathered in the center of its palm and formed into a single sword shadow for the first time. Chu Kuangren unleashed a slash. The sword shadow in the avatar's hand followed suit and slashed towards the black Gale ape. What? Under the terrifying sword pressure, the black Gale ape's expression changed and it immediately transformed into its true form. It was a giant black ape that was hundreds of meters tall. The giant ape roared and activated the black Gale. However, when the sword shadow landed, the black Gale ape was instantly torn apart. The black Gale ape was slashed from head to tail, leaving a huge bloody gash. A large amount of blood mist gushed out and rained down blood in the universe. Then, to everyone's horror, the black Gale ape's huge body was split into two, and its internal organs and flesh floated in the void. Are you threatening me? I, Chu Kuangren, never submit to threats. If any of you want to go against Firmament Star, you can do so. If you want to destroy Firmament Star, I believe you have the strength to do so. However, I can easily defeat an immortal seed and have the potential to become an immortal. Given time, I'll become a heavenly Dao master and even have a high chance of becoming an immortal. So, before you kill me, if any of you dare to lay a finger on Firmament Star, be prepared to suffer my wrath. I may not be able to destroy you now, but who can guarantee that I won't be able to in the future? As long as I'm alive, I'll destroy the civilization that laid their hands on Firmament Star, and I won't rest until I'm dead. The universe was silent. Only Chu Kuangren's cold voice echoed. Coupled with the fact that he had just killed a great Dao master, his murderous aura instantly made everyone feel a sense of fear. That black Gale ape was at least a late-stage great Dao master, yet he killed it in one move. I can't believe his combat strength is so strong. Only a handful of immortal seeds have such strength. No, in the entire Purple Gold Galaxy, perhaps only one of the two Sequence 1 cultivators can do this. This person's words are true. If we don't kill him first, it'll be useless even if we destroy Firmament Star. We'll still have to be on guard day and night against the revenge of a peerless immortal seed. It's not worth it. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.